Hello everyone, and welcome to the Saiyan What Ifs. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Goku stayed on planet Vegeta. But before we start, I want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The prophecy heeded. Blood trickled down Bardock's forehead, staining the crimson headband wrapped tightly around his skull. The Saiyan warrior stood motionless among the corpses of the Konosuba warriors, his squadron celebrating their victory in the distance. But Bardock wasn't present in that moment. His mind had been catapulted elsewhere, witnessing horrific visions of a laughing tyrant and a planet shattering into cosmic dust. "Do you see it now, Saiyan?" The dying Konosuba at his feet wheezed through broken teeth. "The gift of foresight, your punishment, to see your race's extinction approaching, and be powerless against it." Bardock's fist clenched. Unlike previous conquests, this victory felt hollow. The Konosuba possessed psychic abilities. Perhaps this wasn't merely the desperate curse of a fallen enemy. The images burning through his mind carried the unmistakable weight of premonition. "You're wrong," Bardock growled, wiping the blood from his eyes. "If what I saw is true, I'm not powerless. Not if I act now." The fallen Khan. Asan's laugh dissolved into a gurgle as life abandoned his broken form. Bardock turned toward his celebrating squad, Tora, Fasha, Borgos, and Shugish, who raised their fists victoriously among the ruins of the Konosuba capital. His closest allies, the only Saiyans he truly trusted. If anyone would believe his visions, it would be them. But first, he needed to see his sons. The incubation chamber hummed quietly, casting a bluish glow across Bardock's weathered features. Two medical technicians scurried around the room, intimidated by the unexpected presence of a battle-stained warrior in their sterile domain. "His power level is only 2, the first technician noted, checking the monitors attached to the spherical pod containing Bardock's newborn son. "Even for a low-class warrior, that's pathetic," the second technician added with a dismissive snort. "He'll be sent off-world for sure, probably to some frontier planet with weak inhabitants." Bardock's expression remained impassive, but something stirred within him as he gazed at the infant floating peacefully in the incubation fluid. The child's features mirrored his own, down to the unruly black hair that defied the liquid's gentle currents. "Kakarot," Bardock murmured, placing a calloused palm against the glass. The name felt right on his tongue. "Sir, we've already designated him for deployment to a planet called Earth," the first technician informed him. Surprised by the warrior's interest in such a weak offspring, "The inhabitants possess minimal combat potential. Even with his low power level, he should be able to." "Cancel it," Bardock ordered, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. "But sir, protocol dictates." "I said cancel it." Bardock turned toward the technician, his battle-hardened eyes narrowing. "My son stays on planet Vegeta." The technicians exchanged nervous glances. "That's highly irregular. King Vegeta's directive clearly states that all low-class infants must be deployed to conquer suitable planets. The fulfillment of these contracts is how we maintain our arrangement with Lord Frieza." Frieza. The name sent another flash of vision through Bardock's mind, a maniacal laugh, a glowing fingertip. A planet-destroying deathball. He steadied himself against the incubation chamber. "Where's my other son?" "Raditz. Training facilities, East Quadrant," the second technician replied, eager to redirect the warrior's attention. "He's showing promising development for a third class." Bardock gazed once more at baby Kakarot, who opened his eyes as if sensing his father's presence. For a fleeting moment, something passed between them, a connection transcending the glass barrier and fluid medium separating them. "Prepare release documents for this one," Bardock commanded. "I'm taking personal responsibility for his development." As he strode from the medical facility, Bardock's mind raced with fragmented visions and half-formed plans. If what he'd seen was true, Frieza planned to eradicate the Saiyans, all of them. The tyrant feared their growing strength, the potential for a Super Saiyan to emerge from their ranks. Bardock needed evidence, needed allies, needed time. And for reasons he couldn't fully articulate, he needed his sons close. "You've gone soft in the head, Bardock," Tora laughed, draining his third mug of fermented basil root. The tavern buzzed with the usual post-mission revelry, Saiyan warriors boasting of their conquests and challenging one another to demonstrate techniques acquired on distant battlefields. I'm serious, Bardock insisted, his voice low. The Connaissance final attack wasn't meant to kill me. It was meant to warn me, to warn all of us. Fasha leaned forward, her sharp eyes studying Bardock's face. Unlike the others, she detected something beyond mere concussion or battle fatigue in her commander's demeanor. You actually believe these visions? She asked, careful to keep her voice beneath the tavern's din. I've visited 3 outposts since Kanasa, Bardock replied. Each time, I've found evidence. Frieza's forces are being strategically repositioned. Supply chains for long-term occupation missions are being severed. Communication protocols between Frieza's inner circle and Saiyan command have changed frequency twice in the past week. Shugish belched loudly, earning approving nods from nearby warriors. So the lizard's making some tactical adjustments. What's that got to do with your runt staying planetside? Because we need to prepare, Bardock growled, slamming his fist onto tea. He table hard enough to crack its stone surface. The nearby revelry dimmed momentarily before resuming. Not just for battle, for survival. Frieza doesn't plan to send us on more difficult missions. He plans to eliminate us entirely. The table fell silent as the weight of Bardock's assertion settled over his comrades. That's treason talk, Borgos finally muttered, nervously glancing around the tavern. Even suggesting Lord Frieza would betray King Vegeta could get you executed. Which is why I need your help, Bardock replied, reaching beneath his armor to retrieve a small data module. I've compiled everything I've found so far. Transmission logs, deployment orders, supply manifest discrepancies. It's not enough to convince King Vegeta outright, but it's enough to raise questions. Tora's earlier amusement had vanished, replaced by the calculating focus that had kept him alive through countless battles. What exactly are you proposing, Bardock? We gather more evidence. We identify potential escape vectors. We prepare contingencies. Bardock's voice dropped further. And we identify allies, other Saiyans who might listen. You're talking about treason and desertion in the same breath, Fasha noted. Though her tone suggested consideration rather than dismissal. Even if you're right, where would we go? The Saiyan race exists under Frieza's protection. Without his empire's resources, we survived before Frieza, Bardock cut in. We can survive after him. But only if we act now. The table fell silent again, each warrior weighing their commander's words against a lifetime of conditioning to serve. To conquer, to obey. It was Fasha who finally broke the silence. I'm with you, she declared, her tail unwrapping from her waist in a gesture of Saiyan conviction. My instincts say you're right. And my instincts have never led me astray in battle. One by one, the others nodded their agreement, some more reluctantly than others. As the tavern's revelry continued around them, 5 Saiyan warriors formed a pact that would alter the destiny of their entire race. 3 weeks later, Bardock stood before King Vegeta, his posture rigid with military discipline despite the gravity of his unsanctioned actions. The throne room's cavernous expanse amplified every sound, the subtle shifting of the royal guard's armor, the impatient tapping of the king's tail against his ornate chair. The barely audible hum of scouters scanning for threats. You test my patience, Bardock, King Vegeta growled, his aristocratic features contorted with irritation. No, only have you violated direct protocols regarding infant deployment, but now you bring these accusations against Lord Frieza himself. Bardock remained steadfast. Not accusations, my king. Evidence. With a gesture from Bardock, Tora activated the holographic projector they had smuggled into the throne room. Data streams, transmission logs, and orbital scans materialized in the space between warrior and monarch. Frieza's battle carriers have surrounded our planet in a tactical formation consistent with planetary bombardment, not protection, Bardock explained, highlighting the orbital patterns. Communication between his inner circle and our command has dropped by 63%. And this, he manipulated the display to showcase a particularly damning transmission intercept, is an order to disable the warning systems on our orbital defense network, sent directly from Frieza's flagship. King Vegeta's expression remained impassive, but his tail had stopped its rhythmic tapping. The monarch rose from his throne, approaching the holographic display with measured steps. You realize, Bardock, that if you're wrong, I will personally ensure your execution is witnessed by every Saiyan on this planet. It wasn't a threat so much as a statement of royal obligation. And if I'm right, my king, our entire race faces extinction unless we act immediately. The throne room fell into tense silence as King Vegeta examined the evidence, his regal features betraying nothing of his internal deliberation. After what felt like an eternity, he turned to his royal guard. Summon the Saiyan High Command. Immediately. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of urgent preparations, classified orders, and strategic misdirection. King Vegeta, convinced by Bardock's evidence, implemented a plan both desperate and audacious, a partial evacuation disguised as a mass deployment. 30 space pods were prepared openly, a typical number for standard conquest missions. But beneath this visible activity, over 200 vessels were being secretly readied in underground launch facilities, loaded with not just warriors, but scientists, engineers, and even some carefully CTED non-Saiyan specialists from conquered worlds whose skills would prove valuable for establishing a new colony. The Saiyan monarch was no fool. He understood that even with preparation, they couldn't save everyone. Priority was given to the most powerful warriors, the most brilliant minds, and those with rare genetic lineages that might preserve the diversity of their species. It was cold, calculated survival thinking, perfectly in line with Saiyan philosophy. Bardock had won a partial victory, but one crucial battle remained, convincing the king to evacuate more than just the elite. The third-class warriors provide our primary conquest force, Bardock argued, standing before the hastily assembled evacuation council. Without their numbers, the Saiyan race will lack the workforce to establish a new power base. King Vegeta's expression darkened. Our new sanctuary has limited resources, Bardock. Every space vessel assigned to a lower-class warrior means one less elite bloodline preserved. The strong survive, the weak perish. That is the Saiyan way. With respect, my king, Bardock persisted, what good are elite bloodlines without the foundation of our military structure? Your son will need armies to command when he comes of age. The mention of Prince Vegeta struck a chord with the monarch. The 4-year-old prince had already demonstrated power levels that surpassed many adult warriors. A source of immense pride for the king. You overstep your station, third class, one of the elite council members sneered. Your concern for your own rank is transparent. Bardock's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, an unexpected voice cut through the tension. The third class has a point. All eyes turned to Nappa, the imposing commander of the Saiyan army and guardian to Prince Vegeta. The bald giant seldom spoke during council meetings, preferring action to debate. Elite warriors are forged in battle, not born in laboratories, Nappa continued, his gravelly voice echoing in the chamber. If we preserve only the upper castes, we preserve weakness. True strength comes from competition, from fighting one's way up through the ranks. Without the lower classes to overcome, the elites grow soft. Murmurs rippled through the council. Nappa's standing among the elite warriors lent his words significant weight. King Vegeta stroked his beard, considering. What do you propose, then? A meritocracy, Bardock suggested quickly, seizing the opening. The most powerful warriors from each class, regardless of birth rank. Strength above station. Isn't that truly the Saiyan way? The king's eyes narrowed, but Bardock could see the idea taking root. After a moment's consideration, he nodded curtly. Very well. Each evacuation vessel will include warriors from across our ranks, selected by power level rather than birth status. His gaze hardened as he addressed the council. But make no mistake, this temporary adjustment does not represent a permanent change to our social structure. Once we have established our new stronghold and dealt with Frieza, the natural order will reassert itself. The council members nodded in agreement, though Bardock noticed several exchanging uneasy glances. The concept of merit overriding birth status, even temporarily, represented a radical shift in Saiyan thinking. As the council dispersed to implement the new directives, Fasha appeared at Bardock's side. Clever manipulation, she murmured with grudging admiration. You got what you wanted without directly challenging tradition. Bardock's expression remained grave. It's not enough, but it's a start. Have you secured spots for my sons? Raditz has been assigned to Prince Vegeta's guard detail. Apparently Nappa requested him specifically after your performance in there. Foch's lips quirked in a half-smile. As for Kakarot, he's been cleared for evacuation despite his low power level. The medical chief owed me a favor. Relief washed over Bardock, though he was careful not to display it openly. And our team, all confirmed, will be distributed across 3 vessels to maximize survival chances. She hesitated. Bardock, some are saying your visions have made you soft. That caring for a weak offspring like Kakarot proves it. Let them talk, Bardock replied dismissively. In 2 days, we'll know who was right, the gossips or the prepared. But as he walked through the bustling corridors of the Saiyan military complex, Bardock couldn't shake a persistent doubt. His visions showed planet Vegeta's destruction with absolute clarity. What they didn't reveal was whether any of their escape plans would succeed. The day of reckoning arrived more suddenly than anyone anticipated. Bardock stood in the medical facility, securing the transport pod containing infant Kakarot when the first tremor shook the building. His scouter activated automatically, detecting a massive power level approaching the planet's atmosphere. He's here, Bardock whispered, a cold certainty settling in his gut. The facility's alarms blared as the evacuation order was transmitted across all channels. What had been planned as a measured, sequential launch became instant chaos. Warriors and specialists rushed to their assigned vessels while maintaining the facade of normal operations for any of Frieza's spies who might be watching. Bardock secured Kakarot's pod under his arm and sprinted toward the launch bays, his scouter tracking the movements of Frieza's flagship as it settled into high orbit. Through the facility's windows, he could see Frieza's elite soldiers descending toward the planet's surface, a prelude to the tyrant's personal appearance. Bardock, Tor's voice crackled through his scouter. Frieza's forces are targeting the main launch sites. The king has ordered immediate dispersal. What about the secondary sites? Bardock demanded, adjusting his course toward the underground facilities. Still clear, but not for long. Get Kakarot secured and report to Defense Position Alpha. The king is buying us time. The transmission cut off abruptly. Bardock increased his pace, using service tunnels and main tenants shafts to avoid the main corridors where fighting had already broken out. The sounds of energy blasts and collapsing infrastructure echoed through the complex. When he reached the underground launch bay, organized chaos greeted him. Technicians worked feverishly to prepare the remaining vessels while warriors formed a defensive perimeter. In the center of the bay, King Vegeta himself stood issuing commands. His royal cape singed from recent combat. Bardock, the king acknowledged with a curt nod. Your warning proved accurate. Frieza's forces attacked without provocation or declaration. The evacuation? Bardock questioned, securing Kakarot's pod into one of the waiting vessels. Proceeding. The first wave launched successfully before they realized our intent. The second wave. King Vegeta's expression darkened. Frieza's flagship intercepted them. We lost 30%. A deafening explosion rocked the launch bay, sending debris cascading from the ceiling. King Vegeta's scouter beeped urgently. The main defense grid has fallen, he announced, his voice carrying across the bay. We are out of time. All vessels launch immediately. Warriors scrambled to their S-signed ships as the launch bay doors began to open, revealing the blood-red sky of planet Vegeta. Bardock moved to board his vessel when the king's voice stopped him. Not you, Bardock. I require your assistance for one final task. Bardock turned, confusion evident on his face. My sons are secured. Your eldest with my son's detail, your youngest in Launch Sector 7. King Vegeta's eyes burned with fierce determination. But Frieza must be delayed if any of us are to escape. I go to confront him directly. Understanding dawned on Bardock. A suicide mission. A king's duty, the monarch corrected. But I require a diversion to reach his flagship. Your team has been selected for this honor. Honor. A strange word for a death sentence. Yet Bardock found himself nodding. If his visions had served to save even a portion of their race, perhaps this final sacrifice was fitting. My team stands ready, my king. As the launch bay emptied of vessels, each streaking toward rent sectors of space to confuse pursuers, Bardock gathered his squad for their final mission. No words were needed. Each understood the stakes and the likely outcome. Tora clasped Bardock's forearm, in the traditional Saiyan warrior's salute. It's been an honor, old friend. Save the sentimentality, Fasha scoffed, though her eyes betrayed her emotion. We're not dead yet. For the Saiyan race, Bardock declared. The squad echoing his words as they took flight. As they soared upward through the atmosphere toward Frieza's flagship, Bardock cast one final glance backward at the launching evacuation vessels. Somewhere among them his sons. A strange peace settled over him despite the impending battle. His visions had shown destruction, but perhaps they had also shown salvation, just not his own. The squad accelerated toward their destiny, 5 warriors against an empire, buying precious minutes for their race's survival with their lives. Kakarot's first memories were not of place. Ain't Vegeta's red skies or of his father's face, but of the cramped confines of a space pod and the monotonous hum of its life support systems. By the time his cognitive functions developed sufficiently to form lasting memories, he was already a resident of what the surviving Saiyans called New Vegeta, a harsh, frontier world 16 parsecs from the nearest Frieza Force outpost. Again, Raditz barked, his adolescent voice cracking with impatience. Your form is sloppy, Kakarot. A proper Saiyan warrior keeps his guard tight and his strikes precise. 5-year-old Kakarot picked himself up from the dusty training ground, wiping blood from his split lip. His older brother towered over him, tail lashing with irritation behind him. I almost had you that time, Kakarot insisted, resuming his fighting stance. Raditz snorted derisively. Almost doesn't count in battle, little brother. Almost gets you killed. He lunged forward with a series of punishing strikes that Kakarot barely managed to deflect. The younger Saiyan backflipped to create distance, a maneuver he'd observed rather than been taught. Raditz's eyebrows rose slightly. It was an advanced technique for a child Kakarot's age. Who showed you that? Raditz demanded. Kakarot shrugged. Nobody. I saw one of the elites doing it and copied it. A flicker of something, perhaps respect, crossed Raditz's features before he sked it with typical Saiyan indifference. Copying without understanding is worthless. Show me again. For the next hour, Raditz drilled his younger brother relentlessly, correcting his form with painful precision. To an outside observer, it might have seemed cruel, but among Saiyans, it was the purest form of fraternal care. Since their father's death during the evacuation, Raditz had taken responsibility for Kakarot's development with grim determination. Their training session ended only when the settlement's perimeter alarm sounded, a brief, low pulse indicating returning scout ships rather than a threat. Both brothers immediately abandoned their exercises and rushed toward the landing zone, Kakarot struggling to keep pace with Raditz's longer strides. The New Vegeta settlement sprawled across a valley flanked by jagged mountain ranges that provided natural protection from orbital detection. Unlike the technologically advanced cities of their lost homeworld, these structures were utilitarian and defensive. Built from local materials supplemented by salvaged components from their evacuation vessels. Approximately 2,000 Saiyans had survived Frieza's genocide, along with several hundred non-Saiyan specialists whose skills had been deemed valuable enough to warrant evacuation. At the landing zone, a crowd had already gathered to hear reports from the returning scouts. Prince Vegeta, now 9 years old and already demonstrating power that intimidated warriors 3 times his age, stood at the forefront with his guardian Nappa. Make way for warriors, Raditz growled, pushing through the crowd with Kakarot in tow. As a member of Prince Vegeta's extended guard detail, Raditz was afforded certain privileges despite his third-class origins. The scout vessel's hatches opened, revealing warriors bearing signs of recent combat. Their commander, a scarred veteran named Kress, stepped forward to deliver his report directly to the prince. 3 Frieza Force outposts, TS confirmed within the neighboring sector, Kress announced, loud enough for the assembled crowd to hear. Their patrol patterns suggest routine surveillance rather than active search operations. Prince Vegeta nodded curtly. Casualties. Quote, 2 warriors lost during close reconnaissance of the largest outpost, Kress reported without emotion. We eliminated all witnesses. Good. The young Prince's expression remained coldly analytical. Were you able to access their communication arrays? Yes, my prince. Our technical specialists are analyzing the intercepted data now. Kress hesitated. There was something else. We encountered a squadron of unusual fighters, not Frieza Force regulars. They called themselves the Ginyu Force. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Even Kakarot, young as he was, recognized the significance. The Ginyu Force was Frieza's elite mercenary squad, deployed only for high-priority operations. Were they searching for Saiyans specifically? Nappa demanded, his massive frame tensing. Unclear. Kress replied. They appeared to be conducting general sector reconnaissance. We maintained distance and avoided detection. Prince Vegeta's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Double our perimeter patrols and suspend all non-essential launches for the next lunar cycle. If Frieza's elites are in this sector, we cannot risk drawing attention. As the crowd dispersed to implement the prince's orders, Kakarot tugged at his brother's armor. Raditz, why are we hiding? Father wouldn't hide. Raditz cuffed him sharply across the head. Father died buying us time to escape, you fool. We hide because we must grow stronger before confronting Frieza. That's what Prince Vegeta has decreed. Kakarot rubbed his head but persisted. But we're Saiyans, warriors. Hiding doesn't feel right. Something flickered in Raditz's eyes, a momentary agreement quickly suppressed. Our time will come, Kakarot. But only the strong will live to see it. That's why we train. As He walked back toward the training grounds, a commotion near the technical center caught their attention. A group of warriors had surrounded one of the non-Saiyan specialists, a blue-skinned woman with H4 arms who served as a communications expert. The transmission was corrupted. The woman insisted, her voice trembling as a warrior gripped her by the throat. I can't extract data that isn't there. Try harder. The warrior growled, tightening his grip. Or we'll find a specialist who can. Without thinking, Kakarot broke away from Raditz and darted toward the confrontation. Stop. You're going to kill her. The warrior turned, surprised by the child's intervention. Mind your business, runt. This alien failed in her duties. She can't fix the transmission if she's dead, Kakarot pointed out. Standing his ground despite Raditz's furious gestures to retreat. And Prince Vegeta said the specialists are valuable resources. The warrior's eyes narrowed dangerously. You dare quote the prince's words to me? Third class. The child is correct. All heads turned as Prince Vegeta himself approached, his diminutive stature belied by the commanding presence he projected. The young royal regarded the scene with cold calculation. The specialists function optimally when not being strangled, Prince Vegeta noted dryly. Release her and return to your duties. I'll handle this matter personally. The warrior immediately released the alien woman, who collapsed gasping to the ground. With a hasty salute to the prince, he retreated, shooting a venomous glance at Kakarot as he passed. Prince Vegeta turned his attention to Kakarot, studying him with unnerving intensity. You're Bardock's second son. It wasn't a question, but Kakarot nodded anyway. Yes, my prince. Your father died with honor, diverting Frieza's forces during our evacuation. The prince's voice carried no emotion, merely stating facts. Why did you intervene just now? Kakarot straightened, instinctively adopting a formal stance despite his youth. Killing our specialists weakens us. We need every advantage to defeat Frieza someday. A hint of amusement flickered across Prince Vegeta's features. Pragmatic. Perhaps there's more of your father in you than your power level would suggest. He turned to Raditz, who had rushed to retrieve his wayward brother. Continue his training. He shows potential. With that cryptic assessment, the prince departed, leaving Raditz staring at his younger brother with a mixture of confusion and reassessment. You're either very brave or very stupid, Kakarot, Raditz muttered, dragging him away from the scene. Probably both. Kakarot glanced back at the alien specialist, who watched him with an expression of bewildered gratitude. Something the interaction felt right in a way that was difficult to articulate, a sense that strength meant more than just the capacity for destruction. It was a thought most un-Saiyan-like, and one he knew better than to voice aloud. 10 years passed on New Vegeta, each day filled with rigorous training, strategic planning, and the gradual expansion of their hidden colony. What had begun as a desperate refuge evolved into a functional society, albeit one singularly focused on eventual revenge against Frieza. 15-year-old Kakarot stood at the edge of the Howling Canyons, a vast network of carved ravines that bordered the eastern edge of the settlement. His muscular frame had filled out impressively, though he remained shorter than most Saiyan warriors his age. The red headband tied around his forehead, his father's, recovered from the battlefield and preserved as a relic of Bardock's sacrifice, fluttered in the harsh wind. Daydreaming again, Kakarot. He turned to find Fasha approaching, her battle armor showing signs of recent combat. Though now in her 40s, the female warrior remained one of the colony's most formidable fighters and had taken a personal interest in Kakarot's development after Bardock's death. Not daydreaming. Thinking. Kakarot corrected with a half-smile. There's a difference. Fasha snorted, coming to stand beside him at the canyon's edge. A subtle one, perhaps. What deep thoughts occupy the son of Bardock today? Kakarot gestured toward the horizon, where the silhouettes of 3 moons hung in permanent formation around New Vegeta. They've been calculating power differentials between standard combat state and Uzaru transformation. The elders say Frieza's power level exceeds 1 million. Even with our entire warrior population transformed, our combined power wouldn't match his. Cheerful analysis, Fasha remarked dryly. Is this why you've been experimenting with alternative training methods? Nappa mentioned you've been asking about energy manipulation techniques beyond standard ki blasts. Kakarot nodded, unembarrassed by his unorthodox interests. If we can't match Frieza's raw power, we need tactical advantages. Specialized techniques, strategic applications of limited strength. Very un-Saiyan thinking, Fasha observed, though her tone lacked criticism. Is survival un-Saiyan? Kakarot challenged. We're already breaking tradition by hiding, building, planning. Why not break tradition in how we fight as well? Fasha studied him thoughtfully. Over the years, she'd watched Kakarot develop in ways that defied typical Saiyan patterns. While most warriors relied on brute strength and straightforward assault tactics, Kakarot approached combat as a puzzle to be solved. His power level, once disappointingly low, had grown steadily through rigorous but unconventional training methods. He now ranked among the top fighters of his age group, despite starting from a significant disadvantage. Your father would be intrigued by your approach, she finally said. He wasn't one for blindly following tradition either. Kakarot's expression brightened at the comparison. Tell me about him again, about the final battle. Though he'd heard the story countless times, Kakarot never tired of Fasha's first-hand account of his father's last stand. She'd been the sole survivor of Bardock's squad, saved by a critical injury that had removed her from combat just before their final confrontation with Frieza's forces. Your father led our squad directly into the path of Frieza's personal guard, Fasha recounted, her eyes distant with memory. We created the diversion King Vegeta needed to approach Frieza's flagship. Dodoria's squadron intercepted us first, pink blob of a warrior, but devastatingly powerful. Shish. Unconsciously traced the scar that ran from her temple to her jaw. I took a blast meant for Bardock, was evacuated to a medical pod by Tora before I could protest. The last thing I saw was your father breaking through their lines, heading straight for Frieza's command ship with the king not far behind. Kakarot had pieced together the rest from various accounts, how Bardock and King Vegeta had reached Frieza's flagship, how they'd confronted the tyrant directly, how they'd died buying precious minutes for the evacuation fleet to scatter beyond tracking range. Some claimed they'd even managed to wound Frieza, though most dismissed such claims as wishful thinking. He didn't die hiding, Kakarot murmured, more to himself than to Fasha. The female warrior's expression hardened. He died ensuring our race's survival. There's no higher honor for a Saiyan warrior. But for how long do we survive like this? Kakarot gestured toward the settlement sprawled behind them. Building in secret, training in shadows, sending scouts who flee at the first sign of Frieza's elites. When do we stop hiding and start fighting? Fasha's hand landed heavily on his shoulder. When Prince Vegeta says we're ready. His power grows exponentially each year. Some say he may achieve what no Saiyan has in 1,000 years. The Super Saiyan legend, Kakarot nodded. The ancient tale of a Saiyan warrior, or achieving golden transformation and unimaginable power had gained renewed significance since their exile. Many now pinned their hopes on Prince Vegeta fulfilling the prophecy. Not just the prince, Fasha said with unexpected seriousness. Keep pushing your limits, Kakarot. Your growth rate is unusual. Nappa's noticed. Others have too. Before Kakarot could question her meaning, a thunderous explosion echoed across the settlement. Both warriors spun toward the source, the southern perimeter, where the main sensor array was located. Proximity alert. A voice blared through their communicators. Unidentified vessel breaching atmosphere. All warriors to battle stations. Without hesitation, Kakarot and Fasha launched themselves skyward, ki energy propelling them toward the disturbance at tremendous speed. As they approached the southern perimeter, Kakarot spotted the intruder, a spherical vessel of unfamiliar design, smaller than standard Frieza Force ships but emitting energy addings that set off warning signals in the settlement's defensive grid. Warriors converged from all directions, Prince Vegeta among them, his compact form crackling with barely contained power. Now 19, the prince had developed into a formidable fighter whose mere presence commanded immediate respect. Establish containment perimeter, Prince Vegeta ordered as the vessel touched down on the planet's surface. Energy suppressors active. If it's Frieza's scout, I want it captured, not destroyed. Warriors moved into position, surrounding the vessel at a cautious distance. Energy suppression fields activated, designed to prevent any occupant from transmitting location data off-planet. Kakarot found himself in the front line alongside Fasha, Raditz, and other elite warriors. The vessel's hatch opened with a pneumatic hiss, releasing a cloud of vapor that momentarily obscured its occupant. As the mist cleared, a single figure emerged, not the expected Frieza Force soldier, but a tall, green-skinned being with antennae protruding from his forehead. A Namekian, Raditz muttered, recognizing the species from intelligence briefings. The Namekian raised his hand slowly, demonstrating peaceful intent despite the dozens of ki blasts aimed at his vital organs. I seek audience with the Saiyan leadership, the visitor announced, his voice deep and resonant. I bring information critical to your survival and to Frieza's defeat. Prince Vegeta stepped forward, his posture radiating deadly capability despite his smaller stature. How did you find this planet? Speak quickly, Namekian. Your life depends on your answer. Quote, the green-skinned visitor bowed respectfully. My name is Nail, warrior of Namek. My people have been monitoring Frieza's movements for decades. Recent intel, Legend suggests he has renewed his search for surviving Saiyans with unprecedented resources. Murmurs rippled through the assembled warriors. Prince Vegeta's eyes narrowed suspiciously. That Dosen. Explain how you found us when Frieza's forces have failed for 10 years. Because I wasn't looking for Saiyans, Nail replied simply. I was following the energy signature of something far more ancient and powerful, something that called to my Namekian senses across the stars. The visitor's gaze shifted, moving past Prince Vegeta to settle directly on Kakarot. The young Saiyan felt a strange resonance, as if something within him recognized something within the Namekian. The son of Bardock, Nail stated with quiet certainty. The one who carries the old power. All eyes turned to Kakarot, including Prince Vegeta's suddenly calculating gaze. In that moment, standing before his people and the mysterious visitor who had somehow sensed him across interstellar distances, Kakarot realized that his days of relative anonymity had come to an end. Whatever destiny awaited the surviving Saiyans, he would no longer be merely observing from the shadows. For better or worse, Kakarot, son of Bardock, third-class warrior, unconventional thinker, had just become central to the future of his endangered race. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of change across New Vegeta. In the distance, three moons aligned in a rare configuration, bathing the Saiyan settlement in intensified light, a celestial harbinger of transformation yet to come. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, The Outsider's Path. This meeting is unprecedented, declared Paragus, one of the surviving Saiyan elders, his scarred face contorting with suspicion. Inviting a Namekian into our war council violates every security protocol we've established. The underground chamber, carved from New Vegeta's dense bedrock and reinforced with salvaged ship components, housed the colony's leadership during critical discussions. 16 Saiyans of varying rank formed a semicircle facing the green-skinned visitor. Prince Vegeta occupied the central position, flanked by his massive guardian Nappa and the aging strategist Zorn. The protocols exist to ensure our survival, Prince Vegeta responded, his voice carrying the absolute authority that had only strengthened as he matured. If Frieza has intensified his search for survivors, adaptation becomes necessary. Kakarot stood against the far wall, present only because the Namekian had specifically requested his attendance. Raditz stood beside him, radiating protective suspicion. Explain yourself, Namekian, Prince Vegeta commanded. What is this old power you claim to sense in Bardock's son? Nail's serene composure remained unshaken despite the hostile scrutiny. The Namekian elders preserve knowledge dating back to the earliest days of interstellar civilization. We recognize certain resonances in the universe. Bardock's son carries such a resonance. Speak plainly, Nappa growled. Your legends speak of the Super Saiyan transformation, Nail replied. We Namekians have observed such transformations across multiple warrior races throughout galactic history. They share a common energetic signature, one I detected from 12 parsecs away, emanating from this young one. All eyes shifted to Kakarot, who straightened under the sudden scrutiny. Impossible, Paragus scoffed. His power level at birth was pathetic. The potential for legendary transformation manifests early. My own son Broly demonstrated exceptional readings from infancy. And where is your son now? Prince Vegeta inquired with dangerous softness. Paragus fell silent. Broly had been sent on an infiltration mission to a Frieza outpost 6 months earlier. No word had returned. Power levels can be deceiving. Nail continued calmly. What matters is not current strength but potential for growth. The capacity for transformation exists in unexpected individuals. Fasha, standing near the chamber entrance, caught Kakarot's eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod. She'd been telling him for years that his progress was unusual. Speculation wastes our time, Prince Vegeta declared, cutting through the murmurs. You claim to bring critical intelligence about Frieza's movements, Namekian. Deliver it. Nail inclined his head respectfully. Frieza has abandoned Andam sector sweeps in favor of targeted investigations. He's identified 27 planets with conditions suitable for Saiyan habitation and is systematically eliminating settlements on each. Grim silence fell over the chamber. The implications were clear. Their methodical concealment was working, but Frieza's patience was inexhaustible. More concerning, Nail continued, he has recruited the surviving Tuffles. This revelation provoked an immediate uproar. The Tuffles, the technologically advanced species that had once shared planet Vegeta with the Saiyans before being conquered, were thought extinct. Impossible, Zorn exclaimed. We exterminated the Tuffles generations ago. A small scientific enclave survived on an orbital research station, Nail explained. Frieza's forces covered them shortly after planet Vegeta's destruction. They now develop tracking technology specifically calibrated to detect Saiyan biosignatures. Prince Vegeta's expression darkened. How long until this technology is deployed? It already has been. 3 remote Saiyan outposts have been discovered and eliminated in the past 60 days. Stunned silence enveloped the chamber. The Saiyan Adership had established several small outposts as decoys and communication relays, each housing only a handful of warriors. The loss of 3 suggested Frieza's new methods were frighteningly effective. If the Tuffles technology can detect our biological signatures, Zorn noted gravely, our concealment strategies are obsolete. Not entirely, Nail countered. The Namekian elders have developed countermeasures against similar tracking technologies. With your permission, Prince Vegeta, I offer this knowledge freely to the Saiyan people. The prince studied the Namekian with narrowed eyes. Nothing is offered freely in this universe. What do the Namekians want in return? An alliance, Nail answered simply. Frieza's empire expands unchecked. The Namekians foresee his eventual discovery of our homeworld. Alone, neither of our races can oppose him. Together, perhaps there is hope. Kakarot listened intently, his tactical mind already analyzing possibilities. An alliance with the Namekians would provide technological advantages and potentially new training methodologies. If their understanding of transformation energy was as sophisticated as Nail suggested. We will consider your proposal, Prince Vegeta announced after a measured silence. Until then, you will remain under guard and share your countermeasure technology with our specialists. As the council dispersed, Prince Vegeta beckoned to Kakarot. You, attend me in the training facility at first light tomorrow. We shall test the Namekians' claims about your potential. Kakarot bowed respectfully, masking his surprise. Yes, my prince. As the leadership filed out, Raditz gripped Kakarot's shoulder with unusual force. What have you done to draw this attention? He hissed. Nothing, Kakarot replied honestly. I've just been training. Your unconventional methods have finally attracted notice, Fasha commented, approaching them. The prince rarely takes personal interest in warriors outside his immediate circle. Raditz's expression tightened with concern poorly disguised as irritation. Don't embarrass our family tomorrow, little brother. If Prince Vegeta deems your power insufficient, the consequences will be severe. After Raditz departed, Fasha studied Kakarot with evaluating eyes. You've prepared for this moment whether you realized it or not. Show the prince what I've seen in you these past years. Kakarot nodded, determination settling like armor around his uncertainty. I won't hold back. Good. Fasha's rare smile flashed briefly. Because Prince Vegeta certainly won't. Dawn on New Vegeta brought crimson light filtering through the planet's perpetual dust clouds, a fitting backdrop for combat. Kakarot approached the Royal Training Facility, a reinforced STR. Uktur occupying the colony's central plateau. Unlike the communal training grounds used by most warriors, this facility featured gravity enhancement technology salvaged from their evacuation ships, allowing for training at increased gravitational pressure. Two elite guards flanked the entrance, recognizing Kakarot with surprise but admitting him without challenge. The prince's orders superseded all standard protocols. Inside, Prince Vegeta stood alone in the center of a circular chamber, wearing only light training attire rather than battle armor. The facility's lighting cast harsh shadows across his compact, muscular frame. You're punctual, the prince observed neutrally. A good start. Kakarot bowed with perfect military precision. Thank you for this opportunity, my prince. Save your gratitude. This isn't a reward, it's an investigation. Prince Vegeta activated a control panel on his wrist guard. The gravity will increase gradually. We begin at 5 times New Vegeta's standard gravity. The subtle hum of generators accompanied an immediate pressure that forced Kakarot to widen his stance for stability. 5 times normal gravity was challenging but manageable, he'd sec. Redley trained at 3 times gravity in the mechanical section where maintenance specialists tested equipment. Prince Vegeta observed Kakarot's adjustment with calculating eyes. The Namekian's claims are extraordinary. I find extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. He increased the gravity again. 8 times standard. The pressure intensified dramatically. Kakarot's muscles straightened as he fought to maintain his posture. Sweat beaded immediately on his forehead, soaking into his father's red headband. Conventional wisdom holds that third-class warriors cannot exceed certain power thresholds. Prince Vegeta continued conversationally, showing no signs of discomfort under the increased gravity. Your father challenged this wisdom with his final power reading. Genetics suggest you might inherit similar potential. He circled Kakarot slowly, assessing his struggle against the crushing pressure. However, genetics are unpredictable. Your brother, for instance, plateaued early despite intensive training. Kakarot refused to respond to the implied insult to Raditz, focusing instead on adapting to the gravitational stress. His breathing techniques, developed through years of personal experimentation, helped manage the strain. 10 times standard gravity, Prince Vegeta announced, adjusting the controls again. The pressure became nearly unbearable. Kakarot dropped to one knee, his body trembling with effort. Most third-class warriors would have been completely immobilized. Through sheer determination, he forced himself back to his feet, earning a raised eyebrow from the prince. Impressive resilience, Prince Vegeta acknowledged. But resilience alone doesn't validate the Namekian's claims. He settled into a fighting stance. Defend yourself. Despite the crushing gravity, Prince Vegeta moved with fluid precision, launching a testing jab toward Kakarot's midsection. Kakarot barely managed to deflect it, the impact rattling through his forearm despite the successful block. Your defensive technique is unorthodox, the prince noted, following with a series of increasingly rapid strikes. Who trained you? Fasha provided foundation, Kakarot replied between labored breaths, narrowly avoiding a sweeping kick. I adapted based on observation. Prince Vegeta's attacks accelerated further, forcing Kakarot into desperate evasions. Observation of whom? Everyone. Kakarot answered simply, surprising the prince by suddenly switching from defense to a counterattack. A quick, upward palm strike that Prince Vegeta barely needed to dodge but hadn't anticipated. Bold, the prince commented, responding with a punishing combination that sent Kakarot skidding across the chamber floor. But execution requires power behind technique. Kakarot regained his footing with difficulty. The 10 times gravity turning every movement into a battle. Rather than immediately resuming his guard, he closed his eyes briefly, centering himself in a manner atypical for Saiyan warriors. When his eyes reopened, His ki energy had visibly intensified, creating a subtle aura around his form. Prince Vegeta's eyes narrowed at the display. Energy focusing technique. Self-taught. Partially. Kakarot admitted. I observed the Namekian warriors during their meditation cycles. This time when Prince Vegeta attacked, Kakarot met him with significantly improved speed. Redirecting rather than blocking, conserving energy where possible. It wasn't enough to match the prince, but the sudden improvement was noteworthy. After several more exchanges, Prince Vegeta stepped back and increased the gravity again. 15 times standard. The pressure drove Kakarot immediately to his knees. Black spots danced in his vision as his body struggled against forces it wasn't designed to withstand. But rather than collapse, he once again employed his focusing technique, channeling ki energy to reinforce his skeletal structure and major muscle groups. With tremendous effort, he regained his feet. Prince Vegeta watched with undisguised interest. That specific ki reinforcement technique isn't taught in our standard training. It wasn't taught, Kakarot managed through gritted teeth. I developed it, after studying anatomy charts, in the medical bay. Something unexpected flickered across Prince Vegeta's features, not quite respect, but perhaps reassessment. Theoretical knowledge applied to practical combat. Uncommon among our warriors. Without warning, the prince launched a devastating attack sequence, far more intense than his previous assaults. Kakarot managed to defend against the first few strikes before taking a crushing blow to his sternum that sent him crashing into the chamber wall. The prince deactivated the gravity enhancement, returning the room to standard pressure. Enough. I've seen what I needed to see. Kakarot struggled to his feet, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, determined to finish the assessment properly despite his injuries. My prince, I can continue. Prince Vegeta studied him with clinical detachment. Your power level is unremarkable compared to elite warriors. However, your rate of adaptation under pressure is notable. The Namekian sensed something valid, though perhaps misinterpreted its nature. He approached Kakarot, stopping just beyond arm's reach. Your father died with honor. Buying time for our evacuation. In recognition of his sacrifice, and your own potential utility, I'm assigning you specialized training with the Royal Combat Instructors. Kakarot's eyes widened slightly. It was an extraordinary opportunity rarely afforded to third-class warriors. Thank you, my prince. I will honor this opportunity. See that you do. Prince Vegeta turned away dismissively. Report to Nappa tomorrow. He will oversee your new training regimen. As Kakarot bowed and turned to leave, the prince added, that headband, your father's, I presume. Kakarot touched the added red cloth wrapped around his forehead. Yes, my prince. Retrieved from the battlefield after his final stand. Keep it, Prince Vegeta said after a moment. Symbols of warrior heritage have value, regardless of class distinction. Coming from the prince, it was an unexpected acknowledgement of Bardock's significance. Kakarot bowed again, deeper this time, before departing the training fact. ILITY with muscles screaming in protest but spirit soaring with possibility. Outside, he found Fasha waiting, arms crossed and expression carefully neutral. Well, she prompted as they walked away from the royal facility. The prince has assigned me to train with Nappa and the Royal Combat Instructors, Kakarot reported, unable to keep a note of pride from his voice. Fasha's composure cracked into a satisfied smirk. Good. It's about time your potential was recognized properly. Her expression grew serious again. This won't be easy, Kakarot. Nappa's training methods are brutal, even by Saiyan standards. I'm ready. You're not, she countered bluntly, but you will be. Meet me at the Eastern Ravine at midnight. There are techniques I can teach you that even Nappa doesn't know, Bat. TLE methods from our squad that died with Bardock and the others. Kakarot nodded gratefully. I'll be there. As they parted ways, Kakarot winced at the pain radiating through his battered body. Medical bay would have recovery tanks available, but he hesitated. Pain was a teacher, one most Saiyans respected. Perhaps he should endure it, learn from it. You look terrible, observed a Melod IOU's voice with a distinct non-Saiyan accent. Kakarot turned to find Zorna approaching from the technical center. The blue-skinned alien woman had grown from the frightened specialist he'd defended years ago into one of the colony's most valued technicians. Her forearms allowed her to operate complex equipment with unmatched efficiency, and her analytical mind had earned reluctant respect from even the most xenophobic Saiyans. Just intense training, Kakarot explained with a pained smile. Zorna's violet eyes narrowed with professional assessment. Fractured ribs, minimum. Possible internal bruising. She gestured toward the medical bay. I'm heading there anyway to calibrate the new cellular regenerators. You can pretend you're escorting me if your warrior pride demands an excuse. Kakarot chuckled despite the pain it caused. That obvious. To anyone with functioning visual organs, yes. She fell into step beside him. I heard about your encounter with the Namekian visitor. Technical Center has been buzzing with rumors. What kind of rumors? Zorna glanced around before lowering her voice. That you're being groomed for special operations. That the prince sees something unusual in your combat potential. That the Namekian recognized ancient energy patterns in your cellular structure. Kakarot raised an eyebrow. The technical specialists seem remarkably well informed about classified council matters. Quote, information flows where barriers are weakest, Zorna replied with a shrug of her upper shoulders. And Saiyans tend to discuss sensitive matters loudly when they think only other Saiyans are listening. They reached the medical bay, where Zorna efficiently directed Kakarot to a recovery pod while simultaneously beginning calibration procedures on nearby equipment with her additional limbs. The medical staff, accustomed to her multitasking abilities, worked around her without comment. As healing fluid filled the pod, Kakarot studied Zorna through the transparent barrier. Their unusual friendship had developed gradually over the years, beginning with his impulsive defense of her against Saiyan aggression and evolving through countless conversations during his frequent visits to the technical center. Her perspective, analytical, non-Saiyan, but deeply invested in the colony's survival, provided insights he couldn't gain elsewhere. Before the sedation took full effect, Kakarot tapped on the pod glass to get her attention. When she approached, he asked, the Namekian countermeasures against Tuffle tracking technology, are they effective? Zorna's expression grew serious. Partially. They'll mask our biosignatures from long-range scans but not from direct sampling. If Frieza's forces land on New Vegeta, no countermeasure will hide our presence. Then we need more than passive defenses, Kakarot murmured as the sedatives began clouding his consciousness. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was Zorna's concerned face, her violet eyes studying him with an intensity that suggested she was already calculating possibilities based on his half-formed suggestion. Weeks passed in a grueling rhythm of specialized training and covert preparation. By day, Kakarot trained under Nappa's brutally effective instruction, learning elite combat techniques previously restricted to upper-class warriors. By night, he worked with Fasha on unorthodox fighting methods developed by Bardock's squad during their frontier conquests. In the precious hours between, he collaborated with Zorna on adapting the Namekian countermeasures into more comprehensive defense systems. The combination was exhausting but exhilarating. Kakarot's power level increased steadily, though still far below Prince Vegeta's and other elites. More significant was his tactical development, the ability to leverage limited power for maximum effect through precise application and innovative combinations. Again, Nappa barked, his massive form dominating the training ground. Your energy projection is still too dispersed. Concentrate the blast. Kakarot gathered his ki, focusing it through the techniques Fasha had secretly taught him, visualizing the energy as a compressed spiral rather than an explosive burst. When he released it, the beam cut through 3 training drones with unprecedented precision. Nappa's perpetual scowl eased slightly. Better. Your energy control compensates somewhat for your power limitations. Now, defensive sequence. Without warning, Nappa activated all remaining training drones simultaneously. They converged on Kakarot, firing energy pulses from multiple angles. Rather than attempting to block each attack, a strategy that would have quickly depleted his energy reserves, Kakarot implemented a weaving evasion pattern that minimized necessary defensive actions while positioning him for counterstrikes. When the exercise concluded, Nappa crossed his massive arms, studying his student with grudging approval. Your approach is unorthodox, but effective. Tomorrow we begin assault pattern variations. As Nappa departed, Raditz approached from the observation area where he'd been watching the session. In recent months, their relationship had shifted from patronizing older brother to something approaching respectful equals. Your progress continues to surprise everyone, Raditz noted, tossing Kakarot a hydration pack. Though some find your methods concerning. Kakarot drained the pack gratefully before asking, concerning how? You fight like no other Saiyan. You study technical specifications and anatomical weaknesses. You incorporate alien techniques. Raditz lowered his voice. Some traditionalists question your dedication to Saiyan culture. I'm dedicated to Saiyan survival, Kakarot responded without hesitation. If that requires adaptation, so be it. Raditz studied him thoughtfully. Prince Vegeta seems to agree with you. He's authorized your inclusion in the next reconnaissance mission. Kakarot straightened immediately. A field assignment. When? 3 days from now. We're investigating reports of unusual activity near the abandoned Connaughton outpost. Intelligence SUG. Est Frieza's forces might be testing new tracking technology there. After so many years confined to New Vegeta for training, the prospect of actual deployment sent a surge of excitement through Kakarot. Finally, an opportunity to apply his abilities in genuine combat rather than simulations. Who's leading the mission? He asked. I am. Raditz replied with evident pride. Prince Vegeta Specie. Fically requested you be included in my squadron. Consider it an evaluation of your practical capabilities. After Raditz departed, Kakarot made his way to the technical center, eager to share the news with Zorna. He found her in the prototype laboratory, all 4 arms engaged in manipulating a complex array of sensors and calibration tools. Her blue skin was marred with dark smudges of mechanical fluid, and her silver-white hair had been hastily tied back from her face. You look worse than I did after fighting Prince Vegeta, Kakarot observed with a smile. Zorna didn't look up from her work. Some of us fight with circuits and code rather than fists and energy blasts. No less exhausting, I assure you. After making a final adjustment, she stepped back from the workstation. The namekey and countermeasure prototypes are ready for field testing. Perfect timing. I've been assigned to Raditz's reconnaissance mission to the Connaughton outpost. Now Zorna looked up, her violet eyes widening. That's unexpected. The Connaughton sector has been restricted since the initial evacuation. Our long-range scans detected unusual energy signatures there last month. What kind of energy signatures? She hesitated. I wasn't supposed to access those records. The technical overseers classified them immediately. Kakarot leaned closer. Zorna, if there's something I should know before this mission. After checking that no other technicians were within earshot, she whispered. The signatures appeared momentarily similar to the energy released during Uzaru transformations, but far more concentrated and controlled. Could it be other surviving Saiyans? Kakarot suggested. Possibly. Or something worse. She retrieved a small device from her workstation. Take this. It's a Modif IED scanner calibrated to detect the energy signatures. If you encounter anything matching the pattern, the device will vibrate, subtle enough that even nearby Saiyans won't notice. Kakarot accepted the device, concealing it within his armor. I'll find out what's happening there. Zorna's expression grew serious. Be careful, Kakarot. The universe contains forces beyond even Saiyan comprehension. As that concern I detect. He teased, attempting to lighten the mood. Her 4 hands busied themselves with equipment adjustments, a tell Kakarot had learned indicated emotional deflection. Purely practical concern. Your survival prospects enhance colony security, and I've invested considerable technical resources in your training equipment. Of course, Kakarot replied with a knowing smile. Purely practical. The reconnaissance squadron departed New Vegeta at false dawn, 3 days later. 6 warriors in total, each piloting small, stealth-modified attack pods designed for minimal energy signatures. Raditz led the mission, with Kakarot and 4 elite warriors comprising the team. Among them was Kress, the scarred veteran who'd first reported Ginyu Force activity years earlier. His presence underscored the mission's importance. Kress rarely participated in standard reconnaissance operations. As their vessels accelerated beyond New Vegeta's atmosphere, Raditz's voice crackled through the communication system. Maintain stealth protocols until we reach the secondary moon. We'll use its gravity well to mask our trajectory adjustment toward Connaughton sector. Kakarot monitored his navigation systems while simultaneously checking Zorna's concealed scanner. So far, it remained dormant, detecting nothing unusual as they departed their home system. The journey to the Connaughton outpost took 16 hours. conducted in near-total silence to minimize transmission risks. When they finally approached their destination, Raditz ordered a dispersed formation, each pod taken G position around the abandoned facility at different altitudes and angles. Life support signatures only, Raditz instructed. Visual reconnaissance first, energy scanning only if absolutely necessary. Kakarot guided his pod into position above what had once been the outpost's landing bay. The facility, originally constructed by Frieza's forces after the Connassan conquest and later abandoned foe Lowing planet Vegeta's destruction, showed signs of recent activity. Landing marks scarred the external platforms, and several entry points had been cleared of the dust that should have accumulated over years of abandonment. Movement detected, Kress reported tersely. East Quadrant, 2 humanoid figures. Not Frieza Force standard uniforms. Kakarot adjusted his POD's position for a better view. Through the viewport, he could make out 2 figures moving purposefully around what appeared to be sampling equipment. Their armor was unfamiliar, neither Frieza Force design nor matching any species in the Saiyan intelligence database. Zorna's scanner vibrated suddenly against his chest, so subtly that Kakarot might have missed it had he not been anticipating the signal. Whatever energy signature had been detected earlier was present now. Hold positions, Raditz ordered as one of the figures below activated a device that emitted a pulsing blue light. Passive scanning only, do not engage. For nearly an hour, the squadron observed as the mysterious figures methodically collected samples and readings from around the abandoned outpost. Their behavior suggested scientific rather than military purpose, though their movements retained the discipline of trained fighters. Without warning, Kakarot's scouter activated, detecting a massive power level approaching rapidly from beyond the planet's atmosphere. Before he could report, Raditz's urgent command crackled through the communication system. Incoming. Class A power reading. Abort mission. Emergency evacuation protocol. The squadron's pods immediately powered up, breaking cover to execute the predetermined escape pattern. As Kakarot's vessel accelerated away from the outpost, his viewport caught a glimpse of what had read the retreat, a distinctive ship bearing the insignia of the Ginyu Force. Scatter formation. Random jump points. Raditz commanded as they breached the atmosphere. Rendezvous at fallback point Epsilon after 72 hours. The squadron dispersed in 6 different directions, each pod programmed with multiple trajectory changes to confuse pursuit. Kakarot executed the evasion sequence flawlessly. But as his vessel prepared for its first hyperspace jump, warning signals flashed across his control panel. A tractor beam had locked onto his pod. Raditz, Kakarot transmitted urgently. I'm caught in a tractor beam. Can't break free. Coordinates. His brother demanded. Negative, Kakarot responded, following protocol. Execute mission parameters. All attempt self-extraction. He communication cut off as Kakarot's pod was forcibly pulled back toward the Connassan outpost. Through the viewport, he could see the Ginyu Force ship hovering above the facility, its tractor beam drawing him inexorably closer. Options raced through Kakarot's mind. Self-destruct would prevent capture but eliminate any chance of gathering intelligence. Direct confrontation against Ginyu Force Mem. Burr's was suicide based on known power differentials. Perhaps a controlled crash followed by concealment. Before he could implement any plan, his pod was brought into a docking bay within the larger vessel. The moment the tractor beam released, Kakarot activated the POD's emergency protocols, flooding the bay with blinding light and superheated steam as the POD's hatch explosively disconnected. In the momentary confusion, Kakarot burst from the pod, key energy already gathered for combat. He found himself facing 4 armored figures, not the Ginyu Force members he'd expected, but the mysterious beings he'd observed earlier. +2 companions. Saiyan detected, announced one figure in a mechanically filtered voice. Combat capabilities. Moderate. Threat level. Manageable. They surrounded Kakarot with practiced efficiency, their movements suggesting extensive training in coordinated combat. Despite the threatening formation, they made no immediate aggressive moves. Identify yourself, Saiyan, commanded the apparent leader, a tall figure whose armor featured distinctive red markings. Kakarot maintained his combat stance, energy pulsing around his fists. You first. The leader tilted their helmeted head slightly, as if surprised by the response. After a moment's consideration, they reached up and removed their helmet, revealing, to Kakarot's shock, distinctly Saiyan features. A female Saiyan with sharp, aristocratic bone structure and the characteristic black hair, though cropped unusually short. "I am Caulifla, commander of the Sadala forces," she announced. "And you have stumbled into matters beyond your understanding, survivor." Kakarot's confusion must have shown on his face, because Caulifla's expression shifted to one of recognition. "You don't know, do you?" she asked, her aggressive stance softening slightly. "About Sadala. About the homeworld. Sadala was destroyed centuries ago," Kakarot replied, recalling the historical lessons taught to all Saiyan children. "Planet Vegeta became our home afterward." Caulifla exchanged glances with her companions, several of whom had now removed their helmets, revealing more Saiyan faces, features similar to his own people yet somehow different in subtle ways. "Your education is incomplete, survivor," Caulifla stated. "Sadala wasn't entirely destroyed. A faction escaped, establishing a colony in a distant galaxy. We evolved differently from those who settled on planet Vegeta. Our society took a different path." Before Kakarot could process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the ship. One of Caulifla's companions checked a wrist device urgently. Ginyu Force confirmed on approach. 2 minutes to intercept. Caulifla cursed under her breath. "Change of plans. You're coming with us, survivor. We can't leave evidence for Frieza's lackeys to find." "I have squad mates out there," Kakarot protested. "They've jumped to safety if they followed your scatter protocol," Caulifla replied with certainty. "Now we do the same. Or we all face interrogation by the Ginyu Force." Faced with limited options, Kakarot made a tactical decision. These unknown Saiyans represented both a potential threat and an intelligence opportunity too valuable to lose. If they could evade the Ginyu Force, "Lead the way," he conceded, powering down his energy aura. Caulifla nodded sharply before replacing her helmet. "Secure the connaissance samples. Prepare for emergency jump. And somebody restrain our guest until we're clear." The ship's engines roared to life as the Sadala forces moved with practiced efficiency. One warrior approached Kakarot with energy-suppressing cuffs, but Caulifla intervened. "No restraints. He comes willingly or fights. His choice. But make it quick," she added, addressing Kakarot directly. "Ginyu doesn't wait for decisions." "I'll cooperate," Kakarot assured her, "provided you answer my questions once we're clear." A hint of respect flickered in Caulifla's eyes. Conditional cooperation. Typical Vegeta-trained Saiyan. She gestured toward the bridge. "Let's go. The real Ginyu Force makes our imitation look amateur." As the ship accelerated away from the connaissance outpost, executing a series of complex maneuvers to break pursuit, Kakarot realized he had stumbled upon something that might change everything the surviving Saiyans thought they knew about their past, and possibly their future. The Sadala vessel's jump drive engaged with a disorienting lurch, catapulting them through hyperspace on an evasion course Kakarot couldn't track. The ship's internal configuration differed significantly from Frieza Force designs, featuring more organic architecture and advanced energy management systems. Caulifla led him to what appeared to be a command center, where several more Saiyans worked at control stations. Their discipline and coordination reminded Kakarot of New Vegeta's military operations, but with subtle differences: less aggressive posturing, more collaborative communication. "Pursuit status," Caulifla demanded. "Clean jump," reported a technician. "No tracking signatures detected. The connaissance atmosphere disrupted their sensors long enough for our signature masking to engage." Quote. Caulifla nodded with satisfaction before turning to Kakarot. "Now for your questions, survivor." 3 for now. Choose wisely. Kakarot considered carefully. How many Saiyans survived on Sadala? "Approximately 15,000 initially," she answered. "Current population exceeds 2 million across 8 worlds." The number staggered Kakarot. 2 mil. Ion Saiyans. 100 times the population of New Vegeta. "Second question," he prompted, maintaining composure despite the revelation. "Why are you impersonating the Ginyu Force near abandoned outposts?" Caulifla smiled thinly. "Tactical misdirection. Frieza's forces are programmed to avoid engagement with the Ginyu Force without direct orders. It provides us operational freedom in restricted sectors." "Final question for now," Kakarot stated, focusing on what seemed most immediately important. "What were you searching for on Kanasa?" This question provoked a noticeable reaction among T. He bridge crew. subtle shifts in posture and exchanged glances that Kakarot's trained observation didn't miss. After a moment's consideration, Caulifla answered, "The same thing your father sought there, son of Bardock." Kakarot's eyes widened in surprise. "You know who I am. Your headband, Bardock's marker. And you carry his features." Caulifla gestured to one of her officers, who projected a holographic image, a recording of Bardock's squad during their reconnaissance mission years ago. Our historians documented the final days of planet Vegeta. Bardock's actions are well recorded. The sight of his father in action, alive, powerful, determined, momentarily overwhelmed Kakarot. He had seen still images salvaged from Saiyan archives, but never motion recordings of Bardock in combat. The reconnaissance possessed psychic abilities. Caulifla continued, "Your father was struck by their final attack, granting him precognitive visions that allowed him to warn your people about Frieza's betrayal." "I know this history," Kakarot confirmed, "but what does it have to do with your presence there now?" Caulifla exchanged glances with her second-in-command before apparently reaching a decision. Reconnaissance effect wasn't unique to your father. Their energy signature permanently altered that outpost's radiation profile. We've been harvesting samples to study the transformation catalyst. Transformation catalyst. The energy that triggers evolutionary leaps in warrior races, what your people call the Super Saiyan transformation. Caulifla's expression grew intense. The Sadala Science Div. Ishin believes the reconnaissance psychic energy interacts with Saiyan biology in ways that can be replicated and controlled. Before Kakarot could process this revelation, a proximity alarm sounded throughout the vessel. The tactical officer reported urgently. Unidentified vessels emerging from hyperspace. 5 craft on intercept course. Frieza Force. Caulifla demanded. Negative. Configuration unknown, but energy signatures suggest. The officer paused, rechecking readings with evident disbelief. Saiyan attack pods. Kakarot stepped forward immediately. "Those are my squadmates. They must have tracked your vessel somehow." Caulifla's expression hardened. "Impossible. Our masking technology was designed to hide from Frieza's forces, not from Saiyans specifically looking for one of their own." Kakarot concluded. He tapped his chest armor where Zorna's scanner remained concealed. "I'm carrying a prototype detector calibrated to the energy signature you were harvesting. My people have been monitoring those energy patterns too." For a tense moment, Caulifla looked ready to order an attack. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed, a short, sharp sound of genuine amusement. "The Vegeta colony is more resourceful than our intelligence suggested," she conceded. "Open communication channel. Let's meet these persistent relatives of ours." Raditz's voice crackled through the ship's communication system moments later, his tone deadly serious. "Unidentified vessel, you have captured a Saiyan warrior under my command. Return him immediately or face destruction." Caulifla raised an eyebrow at Kakarot. "Your brother sounds confident for someone outgunned and outmatched." Saiyans from planet Vegeta specialized in planetary conquest against superior numbers, Kakarot explained. Overconfidence is a tactical choice, not a miscalculation. With a thoughtful nod, Caulifla activated the response channel. "Saiyan Squadron, this is Commander Caulifla of the Sadala Forces. Your comrade is unharmed and under no restraint. We propose a diplomatic exchange rather than unnecessary conflict between survivors." After a lengthy pause, Raditz responded cautiously. "Sadala Forces, explain yourself. Perhaps your brother should join this conversation," Caulifla suggested to Kakarot, who nodded agreement. "Raditz, this is Kakarot," he transmitted. "The situation is complex but potentially valuable. These are Saiyans from a colony that survived the destruction of original Sadala. They possess technology and knowledge unknown to us." Another pause followed before Raditz replied, "Verification code. Bardock's legacy endures," Kakarot responded with their mission's security phrase. The tension on the bridge noticeably decreased as Raditz acknowledged the code. "Understood. Proposing neutral meeting coordinates for further discussion." What followed was a carefully choreographed rendezvous in empty space, both sides maintaining defensive capabilities establishing a tentative diplomatic channel. Raditz and Crest transferred to the Sadala vessel while their squadmates maintained attack positions outside, a standard Saiyan negotiation posture that clearly amused the Sadala forces. When Raditz entered the command center, his eyes immediately sought Kakarot, assessing him for injuries or signs of coercion. Finding none, he turned his attention to Caulifla, studying her with open suspicion. You claim to be Saiyans from Sadala, he stated flatly. Prove it. Caulifla gestured to a medical officer, who approached with a genetic analyzer. Biological verification acceptable. After Raditz nodded cautiously, the officer collected genetic samples from both Caulifla and another Sadala Saiyan, analyzing them alongside samples from Raditz and Kakarot. The results projected onto a central display showed unmistakable genetic markers confirming their shared ancestry, with subtle evolutionary divergences indicating approximately 30 generations of separation. Satisfied, Caulifla inquired. Genetically, yes, Raditz conceded. Motivationally, no. Why are Sadala Saiyans operating in this sector, impersonating Frieza's elite forces? Over the next hour, a careful exchange of limited information established the basic parameters of the situation. The Sadala Saiyans had maintained a hidden civilization in a distant galaxy, developing along different social and technological lines than their planet Vegeta cousins. Unlike the conquest-focused culture that had allied with Frieza, Sadala society had evolved toward a protection-oriented warrior culture. We defend rather than conquer, Caulifla explained. Our strength serves civilization rather than destroying it. Raditz's expression suggested skepticism bordering on disdain. Soft principles for those claiming Saiyan heritage. Our maximum recorded power levels suggest otherwise, Caulifla countered smoothly. Strength without purpose is merely violence. We channel our warrior nature toward meaningful ends. Quote, such as investigating abandoned outposts while disguised as Frieza's minions. Kress interjected sardonically. We monitor Frieza's empire from within, Caulifla clarified. Our operatives have infiltrated multiple levels of his organization over decades. The Connaughton investigation is part of a larger research initiative related to warrior race evolution. Throughout the exchange, Kakarot observed the subtle dynamics between the two Saiyan factions. The Sadala representatives displayed discipline and restraint unfamiliar to new Vegeta standards, while Raditz and Kress maintained the aggressive posturing typical of their upbringing. Yet beneath these cultural differences, their shared heritage was unmistakable, the calculating assessment, the pride in strength, the strategic thinking. What do you propose now? Raditz finally asked. Our mission parameters required reconnaissance only. Your existence represents intelligence beyond our current authorization. Caulifla considered briefly before responding. We offer an exchange. Your settlement's location remains undisclosed to us, a security precaution we respect. In return, we provide tech. HNICAL specifications for our energy masking systems, superior to your current capabilities. And, Raditz prompted, correctly sensing more to the offer. And we propose a limited alliance. Shared intelligence on Frieza's movements. Coordinated research into the transformation catalysts. Potentially, personnel exchange for specialized training. The implications were significant. An alliance with these Sadala Saiyans would dramatically expand New Vegeta's resources and knowledge base. Yet it would also require Prince Vegeta to acknowledge another Saiyan authority, something the proud royal was unlikely to accept easily. We must consult our leadership, Raditz stated carefully. This exceeds our decision authority. Understandable. Caulifla turned to Kakarot. Your brother follows protocol admirably. What about you, son of Bardock? What do your instincts tell you about this potential alliance? The direct question surprised everyone present. Raditz stiffened, clearly uncomfortable with his younger brother being addressed as an equal decision-maker. Kress watched with calculating interest. The Sadala Saiyans seemed genuinely curious about his response. Kakarot considered carefully before answering. My father saw beyond traditional limitations to save our people. Looking beyond traditional divisions to ensure our collective survival against Frieza seems equally necessary. A subtle smile crossed Caulifla's features. Well stated. Your reputation for unconventional thinking appears warranted. My reputation? Kakarot questioned, genuinely puzzled. We've had limited observation of your settlement through long-range monitoring, Caulifla admitted. Enough to identify key figures. The son of Bardock who questions tradition has been noted. The revelation that they had been under observation should have been alarming, but Kakarot found himself more intrigued than concerned. These Sadala Saiyans represented a different evolutionary path for his people, one that retained their warrior strength while developing beyond the limitations that had made them vulnerable to Frieza's manipulation. We will convey your proposal to Prince Vegeta, Raditz concluded formally. Expect our response through secure channels within 14 cycles. As the meeting concluded and preparations were made for the squadron's departure, Caulifla approached Kakarot privately. Your path differs from most of your companions, she observed. You question what others accept without hesitation. Survival requires adaptation, Kakarot replied simply. Clinging to tradition, that led to our near extinction seems counterproductive. Caulifla studied him with unexpected intensity. The Connaissans believed certain individuals could alter the destined path of entire civilizations. They called them nexus beings, points where potential futures converge and diverge. Like my father, Kakarot suggested. Perhaps, or perhaps his son. She reached into a compartment of her armor and retrieved a small data crystal. This contains basic training methodologies from Sadala. Energy control techniques your people haven't developed. Study them privately. Kakarot accepted the crystal hesitantly. Why give this to me specifically? Because you'll actually use it, Caulifla replied with a knowing smile. While your companions debate whether accepting soft Sadala techniques compromises their warrior pride. As Kakarot rejoined his squadron and they departed the Sadala vessel, the data crystal felt like it burned against his chest where he'd concealed it. It represented exactly what he'd been seeking, new approaches to combat that might help overcome the overwhelming power differential with Frieza. Yet it also represented a choice between the traditional Saiyan path exemplified by Prince Vegeta and the alternative evolution demonstrated by these Sadala survivors. A choice between conquest and protection, between isolation and alliance. A choice that might eventually divide the surviving Saiyans as deeply as Frieza's genocide had. Absolutely not, Prince Vegeta declared, his voice echoing through the council chamber with finality. These Sadala Saiyans abandoned our warrior heritage for weakness disguised as enlightenment. The debriefing had proceeded for hours, with Raditz and Kakarot providing detailed accounts of their encounter. The evolution of 2 million Saiyans living beyond Frieza's influence had initially electrified the council, but as details of Sadala society emerged, opinions divided sharply. Their technological achievements cannot be dismissed, Zorn argued cautiously. Energy masking systems superior to our own would enhance our security significantly. At what cost? Prince Vegeta countered. They speak of protecting civilization, rather than conquering it. They've abandoned the true Saiyan purpose, domination through strength. Kakarot listened silently, noting the ideological divide forming among the leadership. Some, particularly the older warriors who remembered Planet Vegeta clearly, agreed vehemently with the prince. Others, especially those born after the evacuation, showed greater interest in the Sadala alternative. What of their research into transformation catalysts? Nappa inquired. If they've made progress toward unlocking the Super Saiyan legend. Prince Vegeta's expression darkened. The legendary transformation will be achieved through proper Saiyan methods, battle, rage, pushing beyond limits. Not through scientific shortcuts. Throughout the debate, Kakarot noticed Prince Vegeta watching him with calculating interest, as if expecting him to advocate for the alliance. But Kakarot maintained strategic silence, understanding that open opposition would undermine his growing influence. We will accept their technical specifications for energy masking, Prince Vegeta finally declared. Nothing more. No alliance, no personnel exchange, no shared research. We are the true Saiyan race. We need no guidance from those who abandoned our heritage. As the council dispersed, Prince Vegeta beckoned Kakarot to remain. When they were alone, the prince studied him with narrowed eyes. You disagree with my decision, he stated matter-of-factly. I believe all advantages should be considered against an enemy like Frieza, Kakarot replied carefully. Including abandoning what makes us Saiyan? Prince Vegeta challenged. Including questioning whether what destroyed us should define us, Kakarot countered, then added hastily, my prince. Rather than anger, Prince Vegeta's response was thoughtful silence. Finally, he said, your father challenged tradition and saved many of our people. There is value in questioning, when done from strength, not weakness. He approached Kakarot, stopping just beyond arm's reach. These Sadala Saiyans interest you because they represent a different path. You've always sought alternative approaches, even in combat training. Effective approaches, Kakarot emphasized. Indeed. Prince Vegeta's eyes narrowed, which is why I'm assigning you a special operation. You will serve as our sole point of contact with these Sadala representatives. Officially, to coordinate the technical exchange. Unofficially, to evaluate their potential as true allies, Kakarot completed the thought. Prince Vegeta nodded once, sharply. Quote, you walk the edge between tradition and innovation, son of Bardock. That position allows you to interface with these cousins, without compromising our principles. Report directly to me, bypassing standard command. The assignment was both opportunity and test. Kakarot recognized this immediately. Prince Vegeta was offering unprecedented autonomy while simultaneously placing him in a position to fail dramatically should his judgment prove flawed. I understand, my prince. I won't disappoint you. As Kakarot departed the council chamber, his mind raced with implications. Prince Vegeta had just granted him official sanction to explore the very alternative path he'd been drawn toward for years. Yet he'd done so in a way that maintained traditional hierarchy and isolated any potential contamination to a single expendable third-class warrior. Politically brilliant, practically useful, personally validating. Outside the central complex, Kakarot found Fasha waiting, her expression unreadable. The prince has given you a dangerous assignment, she stated without preamble. You heard. Word travels fast. Some are already calling you the diplomat, not a compliment in warrior circles. Kakarot shrugged. Add it to the list of reasons I'm not a proper Saiyan. Fasha's expression softened marginally. Your father wasn't considered a proper Saiyan either. Until he became a hero. She glanced around before adding quietly, use this opportunity, Kakarot. The prince has given you a pathway few would receive. I intend to, he assured her. Later that evening, Kakarot met Zoe RNA at their usual spot overlooking the eastern ravine. The technical specialist listened intently as he recounted the council's decision and his private assignment from Prince Vegeta. A fascinating development, Zorna commented when he finished. The prince demonstrates greater adaptability than I would have predicted. He's calculating the highest probability path to defeating Frieza, Kakarot explained. Traditional methods have a known ceiling. Alternative approaches offer unknown potential. And you're his experimental variable, Zorna noted with a hint of concern. The test subject, sent to evaluate foreign methods without contaminating the broader population. Kakarot smiled wryly. When you phrase it that way, it sounds less like an honor. It's both strategic and efficient, Zorna observed in her typical analytical manner. If the Sadala methods prove valuable, the prince benefits. If worthless or harmful, only a third-class warrior is lost. Your perspective is always so comforting. Kakarot replied dryly. Zorna's violet eyes studied him with unexpected intensity. You've been given something rare, Kakarot, freedom to explore beyond established boundaries. Many would envy that, regardless of the political calculations behind it. She was right, of course. Despite the strategic motivations behind Prince Vegeta's decision, the assignment represented exactly what Kakarot had been seeking. Permission to explore alternative paths to power, to question traditions without being branded a traitor, to seek new approaches to their existential conflict with Frieza. What will you do with this freedom? Zorna asked quietly. Kakarot gazed toward the horizon where new Vegeta's 3 moons hung in their eternal dance. Find a better way, for all of us. N painted the ancient stones with amber light as Kakarot completed his solitary training ritual. The ruins, discovered years earlier in the northern mountains and largely ignored by the colony's Melita Rai focus, had become his private sanctuary. Here, away from judgmental eyes, he practiced the techniques from the Sadala data crystal, integrating them with Fasha's unorthodox methods and his own intuitive adaptations. The resulting style was uniquely his, neither traditional Saiyan combat nor pure Sadala methodology, but something new. Energy conservation, precision strikes, tactical application of limited power for maximum effect. 3 months had passed since his encounter with the Sadala forces. The technical exchange had proceeded smoothly, with Zorna and her team successfully implementing the enhanced energy masking systems. Kakarot's official interactions with Caulifla's representatives had been professional and productive. His unofficial exploration of their combat philosophies, however, remained his closely guarded secret, shared only with Fasha and Zorna. Your control has improved significantly, observed a familiar voice. Kakarot spun to find Nail standing at the edge of the ruins. The Namekian's expression serene as ever. Since establishing residence on New Vegeta as the official Namekian ambassador, Nail had largely kept to himself, offering guidance when requested, but otherwise respecting Saiyan autonomy. How long have you been watching? Kakarot asked, momentarily embarrassed at being observed during his private practice. Long enough to recognize Sadala energy manipulation techniques. Nail replied mildly, an interesting choice for the prince's special operative. Kakarot tensed slightly. You've been well informed. Namekians possess excellent hearing, Nail remarked with the faintest hint of amusement. These ruins interest you. Why? Deciding that transparency was the wisest approach with the perceptive Namekian, Kakarot gestured toward the ancient stone formations. They predate Saiyan settlement on this planet. The symbols don't match any known language in our archives. Nail approached one of the weathered pillars, tracing the enigmatic carvings with green fingers. Because they aren't language as you understand it. They're energy patterns, visual representations of ki flow. Kakarot's eyes widened with sudden understanding. That's why they seemed familiar somehow. They resemble the energy visualization exercises in the Sadala techniques. Because they share a common origin, Nail confirmed. These ruins weren't built by Namekians or Saiyans or any race you know. They were constructed by the ancients, those who first understood the universal energy that connects all living beings. The revelation sent Kakarot's mind racing with possibilities. You're saying these ruins are training aids? Instruction manuals for energy manipulation? In the simplest sense, yes. Nail placed his palm flat against one of the larger symbols, a spiral pattern that seemed to draw the eye inward. The ancients believed transformation wasn't merely physical but spiritual. Power flowed from understanding, not merely emotion or genetics. Kakarot approached the symbol, studying it with fresh perspective. The Sadala Saiyans are researching transformation catalysts, scientific approaches to triggering the Super Saiyan legend. An incomplete approach, Nail commented, as is the traditional Saiyan belief that rage alone will trigger the transformation. The truth, as always, lies somewhere between. For hours, Kakarot and Nail explored the ruins together. The Namekian providing insights into the ancient symbols that transformed Kakarot's understanding of energy manipulation. What had been intuitive became deliberate, what had been experimental became structured. Why show me this? Kakarot finally asked as the sun reached its zenith. Why not Prince Vegeta or the Saiyan leadership? Nail's expression remained impassive. Because you asked the question. Others merely seek power, you seek understanding. Before Kakarot could respond, his communication device activated with an urgent signal, the alert pattern designating immediate deployment. Something significant had happened. I must go, he told Nail, already moving toward the settlement. Thank you for your guidance. The Namekian merely nodded. We'll continue another time. The path of transformation is long, but you've already taken the first steps. Kakarot raced back to the settlement, finding it in organized chaos, warriors mobilizing, vessels being prepared. Command centers fully activated. He located Raditz amid the preparations, his brother's expression grimmer than usual. What's happened? Kakarot demanded. One of our deep cover operati. Vase has returned with critical intelligence, Raditz explained tersely. Frieza has developed a new squadron specifically designed for hunting Saiyans. They've already eliminated 2 suspected hideouts in neighboring sectors. The Tuffle tracking technology, Raditz nodded, perfected and deployed. Worse, they've recruited a warrior with personal knowledge of Saiyan combat techniques. Who? Paragus' son, Broly. The name sent a chill through Kakarot. Broly had been sent on an infiltration mission nearly a year ago and never returned. His power level as a child had been extraordinary. The most promising warrior of their generation besides Prince Vegeta himself. Captured and turned against us, Kakarot murmured. Or defected. Unknown. But his knowledge of our tactics combined his natural power makes him an existential threat. Raditz checked his scouter impatiently. The prince has ordered immediate countermeasures. You've been assigned to the advance team. Within hours, Kakarot found himself aboard a stealth vessel with 5 other warriors, including Fasha. Their mission was straightforward but extraordinarily dangerous. approach the nearest suspected hunter squadron, verify Broly's presence. And if possible, eliminate him before he could lead Frieza's forces to New Vegeta. As the vessel accelerated beyond the atmosphere, Fasha joined Kakarot in the observation bay. Her expression uncharacteristically troubled. "I trained Broly alongside Paragus when he was young," she revealed quietly. "His power was unsettling. Raw, instinctual, almost uncontrollable. Paragus used specialized restraint technology to help him focus. If Frieza's forces have removed those restraints..." Kakarot didn't need to complete the thought. "Then we face something beyond our current capabilities," Fasha finished grimly. "Unless your unconventional methods offer some advantage." Kakarot thought of the ancient ruins, of Nail's teachings, of the Sadala techniques he'd been secretly mastering. Would they be enough against a warrior of Broly's natural talents? He honestly didn't know. What he did know was that the traditional approach of meeting overwhelming power with direct force would fail catastrophically. If Broly truly had joined Frieza's forces, either willingly or through coercion, new tactics would be essential. "I may have something," he told Fasha cautiously. "But it will require cooperation from the entire team, and abandoning standard Saiyan combat doctrine." Fasha's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "The prince assigned you to this mission specifically. Despite more powerful warriors being available, perhaps he anticipates the need for alternative approaches." The observation surprised Kakarot. Was it possible Prince Vegeta had recognized the limitations of traditional methods more clearly than his public stance suggested? Had his assignment as liaison to the Sadala Saiyans been more than just political isolation? Before he could pursue this line of thought, the vessel's alert system activated. They had reached the target sector where Frieza's hunter squadron had last been reported. What they found exceeded their worst expectations. A devastated planet hung in space before them, its surface scarred with massive energy impacts visible even from orbit. Scanning revealed no surviving life forms despite intelligence suggesting a thriving civilization just days earlier. "Total planetary devastation," the pilot reported clinically. "Energy signature analysis indicates single-source attack. Power level." He paused, rechecking the readings with obvious disbelief. "Exceeding 300,000 units." The number stunned everyone aboard. Even Prince Vegeta, their strongest warrior, registered below 100,000 at maximum output. A power level of 300,000 approached Frieza's rumored capabilities. "Broly," Fasha whispered, confirming Kakarot's suspicions. "His potential was always theoretical. Now we have empirical evidence." As the team processed this devastating intelligence, Kakarot stood at the viewport, staring at the ruined planet below. The traditional Saiyan approach would be simple: return to New Vegeta, report the threat, and prepare for glorious battle regardless of the power differential. But staring at the planetary devastation, evidence of power far beyond their current chi capabilities, Kakarot knew such an approach meant extinction. They needed something beyond traditional strength. Beyond even the alternative techniques he'd been exploring. They needed a new path entirely. "Set course for the Konosuba outpost," he ordered suddenly. The pilot looked up in confusion. "Our mission parameters specify reconnaissance only, then immediate return to the mission parameters assumed we'd face a manageable threat," Kakarot interrupted. "What we've discovered changes everything. The Konosuba outpost holds information critical to our survival." Fasha studied him intently before nodding to the pilot. "Do it. I'll take responsibility with the prince." As the vessel changed course, Kakarot's mind raced with possibilities. The Sadala Saiyans had been researching transformation catalysts at the Konosuba outpost. Nail had spoken of the ancients' understanding of transformation as both physical and spiritual. The ruins on New Vegeta contained symbolic knowledge of energy manipulation. Somewhere among these disparate elements lay the key to facing Broly and, ultimately, Frieza himself. Not through matching their overwhelming power directly, that path led only to destruction. But through understanding the nature of transformation itself. "What exactly are you looking for at the Konosuba outpost?" Fasha asked quietly as the others prepared for the course change. Kakarot touched his father's headband, drawing strength from the connection to Bardock's legacy. "A different way to fight. A different way to be Saiyan." The words felt right as he spoke them. A crystallization of the path he'd been instinctively following for years. The traditional Saiyan way had led to subjugation under Frieza, then near extinction. The Sadala alternative offered intriguing possibilities but lacked the warrior edge needed to face threats like Brawly. What was needed was something new, a synthesis that preserved Saiyan strength while transcending their limitations. ATH that honored their warrior heritage while rejecting their self-destructive tendencies. As new Vegeta's 3 moons faded from view behind them, Kakarot made a silent promise to himself and to his people. He would forge this new path. Whatever the personal cost, he would find a way to transform not just himself, but the very definition of what it meant to be Saiyan. A way that honored strength without embracing cruelty. A way that recognized power's purpose beyond mere destruction. A way that might, ultimately, ensure their survival against enemies whose raw strength they could never directly match. The Outsider's Path. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, Blood and Stars. Approaching target planet in 3 minutes, announced the navigation officer, her voice tight with the professional tension that preceded any mission. Scanners detect minimal defensive systems but significant life forms consistent with intelligence. Kakarot stood at the command viewport of the Saiyan scout vessel Harbinger, watching as the blue-green world grew larger against the backdrop of distant stars. The planet, designated P-417 in their databases but called Namora by its inhabitants, represented both opportunity and risk. Its rare mineral deposits were essential for New Vegeta's expanding technological needs, but its location in a contested sector made any operation there dangerously visible. Status of orbital traffic, Kakarot inquired, adjusting the red headband that had become his signature. 2 commercial vessels in high orbit, likely traders. No military craft detected, reported Tycho, a BR-OAD-shouldered warrior who operated the ship's tactical systems. Despite his impressive physique, Tycho was known for his precision rather than brute force, a quality that had earned him a place on this unconventional mission. 6 months had passed since the discovery of Brawly's devastating power and Kakarot's unauthorized detour to the Connaughton outpost. That decision, viewed as insubordination by some, tactical innovation by others, had yielded critical intelligence about transformation energy but cost him formal standing in the traditional command structure. Prince Vegeta's response had been unexpected, assigning Kakarot leadership of specialized resource acquisition teams, operating with unusual autonomy outside standard military hierarchy. It was both punishment and opportunity, exile from the traditional advancement path. Yet freedom to implement his unorthodox methods without constant supervision. Maintain stealth protocols, Kakarot ordered. Our objective is resource acquisition without detection by Frieza's networks. If the locals cooperate, minimal force. If they resist, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Selective pressure rather than wholesale destruction. Varel of the 6-member team exchanged glances at this distinctly un-Saiyan approach. Traditional doctrine would have prescribed immediate overwhelming force, subjugate the population, extract resources. Leave nothing capable of reporting their presence. Frieza's forces monitor civilized worlds for unexplained destruction, Kakarot reminded them, addressing the unspoken objection. Our mission is to secure resources without triggering investigation. Restraint serves our strategic objective. Fasha, serving as his second-in-command, nodded approvingly. Tactical discipline takes precedence over personal satisfaction. The mission succeeds only if Frieza remains unaware. Kakarot's gaze shifted to the newest member of his team, who had observed the exchange with analytical detachment. Call was an enigma even by the standards of their secretive society, a half-Saiyan infiltration specialist whose mixed heritage would have condemned her to outcast status under traditional planet Vegeta customs. Yet her exceptional abilities in covert operations had made her valuable enough for Prince Vegeta to overlook her impure bloodline. Her Saiyan heritage was evident in her powerful physique and the untamable black hair that fell to her shoulders, but her facial features showed the influence of some unknown alien ancestry, slightly elongated eyes with unusual amber irises, and skin tone shade darker than typical Saiyan complexion. Most distinctive was the pattern of faint golden markings that traced her temples and cheekbones, becoming more pronounced when she channeled energy. Kala, you've studied the population reports, Kakarot addressed her directly. What's your assessment? She stepped forward with fluid grace that belied her considerable strength. The Namorans are a adding civilization organized around river settlements. Their technology is pre-spaceflight but includes sophisticated metallurgy. They value ceremonial exchange before business transactions, a cultural ritual we can leverage. Meaning, prompted Tycho with barely concealed impatience. Meaning we present ourselves as traders from a distant world, offering token technologies in exchange for mining rights, Kala explained. Her voice carrying the subtle refinement that hinted at education beyond standard warrior training. They'll respect strength but respond better to demonstrates of knowledge. Unnecessary violence will trigger planetary defense systems our scanners haven't detected. How could you possibly know about undetected defense systems? Challenged Brock, the team's most traditionally minded warrior. Kala's expression remained neutral, because their mythology references Sky Guardians, who emerged during invasions, consistent with automated defense protocols of encountered on similarly developed worlds. Kakarot nodded decisively. We proceed with the diplomatic approach. Kala will lead the initial contact team. Fasha, coordinate our landing zone security with minimal visibility. Tycho, prepare portable mineral extraction equipment. His eyes met each team member's gaze. We complete this mission through intelligence first, force only if necessary. As the vessel began its atmospheric descent, using the planet's magnetic field to mask their energy signature, Kakarot moved to a private communication station and activated a secure channel. Prince Vegeta's face appeared on the small screen. His expression characteristically severe. Report, Kakarot, approaching target planet now, my prince. Preliminary scans confirm the mineral deposits. Wheel Estabilis. H extraction operations within 6 hours. Prince Vegeta's eyes narrowed slightly. And your specialized team, are they performing to expectations? The question carried layers of meaning. This Ishin represented more than resource acquisition. It was a test of Kakarot's leadership and his ability to blend traditional Saiyan effectiveness with his unorthodox approaches. Each warrior understands their role. Kakarot replied carefully, including our newest addition. Ah yes, Kala. Something unreadable flickered across the prince's features. Her technical assessment of the planet's inhabitants proved useful. Extremely. My prince. Her knowledge of non-military cultures provides tactical advantages. Prince Vegeta nodded once, sharply. Good. Remember your primary directive, Kakarot. New Vegeta requires these resources, but security supersedes acquisition. If Frieza's forces appear, immediate withdrawal, elimination of evidence, protection of our location at all costs, Kakarot completed the familiar protocol. I understand, my prince. See that you do. The prince paused, then added with unusual emphasis, the moons of this world have unusual orbital patterns. Be aware of potential complications. The warning was clear to any Saiyan. Uncontrolled transformation into their Uzaru state, the great ape form triggered by specific wavelengths of moonlight, would devastate the mission's covert nature. I've reviewed the astronomical data, Kakarot assured him. The mission timeline avoids exposure risk. After Prince Vegeta's image vanished, Kakarot remained at the console momentarily. Considering the subtext of their exchange, the prince's concern about transformation risk suggested he'd reviewed the mission parameters personally. Unusual attention for W. Hat was ostensibly a routine resource-gathering operation. He doesn't fully trust your control, observed Fasha, who had approached silently during the transmission's conclusion. Few warriors your age have faced their first transformation with proper preparation. Kakarot nodded grimly. The Uzaru transformation represented both tremendous power and significant vulnerability for Saiyans. While transformed, their strength increased tenfold, but many, especially those experiencing the change for the first time, lost rational consciousness, becoming destructive forces of nature rather than strategic warriors. The mission timeline accounts for lunar cycles, he reaffirmed. We'll be off-planet before the critical phase begins. Fasha's expression suggested skepticism, but she merely nodded before returning to her station. As the ship began its final descent through wispy cloud layers, Kakarot pushed aside thoughts of transformation to focus on the immediate mission. Resources, diplomacy, stealth. The rest were distractions he couldn't afford. The landscape below revealed a world of remarkable beauty, vast forests intersected by winding rivers, with settlements nestled where waterways converged. The Harbinger touched down in a small clearing several kilometers from the nearest population center, its advanced camouflage systems activating immediately to blend with the surrounding vegetation. Extraction equipment prepared, Tycho reported as the team gathered at the ship's exit ramp. Preliminary scans indicate the richest mineral deposits lie beneath the northern ridge, approximately 4 kilometers from our position. Excellent. Kakarot turned to Kala. You'll lead our diplomatic team to establish contact and secure access rights. Fasha and I will accompany you while Brock, Tycho and Lacan begin setting up the extraction perimeter. As the team separated to their assignments, Kala approached Kakarot privately. Command suits you, she observed, her amber eyes studying him with unnerving intensity. You balance tactical necessity with strategic vision. High praise from someone who supposedly specializes in critical assessment, Kakarot replied with a slight smile. Not praise. Observation. Something in her tone suggested deeper evaluation than simple professional assessment. Your reputation precedes you, son of Bardock. The warrior who questions tradition yet honors strength. Reputations can be misleading, he countered, suddenly curious about her unusual formality. Most Saiyans, regardless of rank, maintained a certain blunt directness. C.A. Lee's speech patterns suggested education beyond standard warrior training. Indeed they can. A hint of something, amusement, wariness, flickered across her features. Perhaps that's why Prince Vegeta assigned me to your team specifically. Quote, before Kakarot could pursue this intriguing statement, Fasha signaled readiness, and they set off toward the Nemoran settlement. As they moved through the dense forest, Kakarot observed Kala's movement pattern, the precision of a trained infiltrator combined with the natural power of Saiyan physiology. Despite her mixed heritage, her combat potential was evident in every controlled step. Your file mentions specialized training in alien cultures, he noted as they traversed a particularly steep hillside. Unusual focus for a Saiyan warrior. Half Saiyan, she corrected without rancor. My mother's people were scholars before Frieza's expansion absorbed their world. The knowledge proved useful after the evacuation. And your father? Kakarot inquired, sensing something left unspoken. Kala's expression closed immediately. Died during the evacuation. Like many others, the abrupt shift in her demeanor suggested complexity beyond what her file had indicated. Kakarot made a mental note to investigate further when circumstances permitted. For now, the mission took priority. The Nemoran settlement appeared as they crested a final ridge. A sprawling collection of graceful structures built along the convergence of 3 rivers. Unlike the utilitarian architecture of New Vegeta, these buildings incorporated natural elements into their design, creating harmony with the surrounding landscape. Impressive for a pre-spaceflight civilization, Fasha commented, automatically assessing defensive vulnerabilities out of ingrained habit. Hey, compensate for technological limitations with exceptional environmental adaptation, Kala explained. Their river network serves as transportation, communication, and defense. Note how the settlement layout channels visitors toward central gathering areas while maintaining multiple evacuation routes. Kakarot recognized the strategic intelligence behind what might otherwise appear merely aesthetic. These weren't primitive dwellings but carefully designed community spaces that served multiple functions. How do we approach without triggering defensive responses? He asked. Kala pointed toward a wide stone platform extending into the central river junction. The trading plaza. Visitors traditionally announce themselves there rather than entering residential districts directly. We should approach openly, wearing communication devices visibly to indicate technological status. Following her guidance, they descended toward the settlement. As they approached the trading plaza, less of reaction spread through the native population, not panic, but wary observation. The Nemorans were humanoid but distinctly alien, with blue-tinged skin and elaborate cranial ridges that seemed to serve both ornamental and sensory functions. When they reached the central platform, a delegation of Nemorans approached, 5 individuals wearing elaborate harnesses adorned with what appeared to be position indicators. The central figure, distinguished by intricate metalwork across his chest harness, stepped forward. Visitors from beyond our skies, he announced in his native language, which Kala translated through the small device at her wrist. Your vessels differ from the usual traders. State your purpose and origin. Kala stepped forward, assuming the diplomatic role with practiced ease. Greetings, people of Nemora. We come from distant stars seeking resources your world possesses in abundance. We offer technical knowledge and trading relationships in exchange for mining access in unpopulated regions. The translation seemed to satisfy the delegation leader, who gestured toward a nearby structure. The exchange hall awaits. Customary offerings and observances must precede transaction discussions. As they followed the delegation, Kakarot activated his communication implant with a subtle jaw movement. First contact established. Proceeding with negotiations. Begin preliminary site preparation but maintain stealth protocols. Tycho's acknowledgement came immediately, followed by a concerning update. Be advised, atmospheric sensors detect unusual electromagnetic activity in upper atmosphere. Possible ship signatures at extreme range. Kakarot exchanged glances with Fasha, whose expression mirrored his concern. Unexpected visitors complicated their already delicate mission. Identify if possible, he sub-vocalized. Prepare contingency evacuation if Frieza Force signatures confirmed. The exchange hall proved to be a graceful structure open to the rivers on three sides. Its interior dominated by a circular stone table inlaid with metallic patterns that Kakarot recognized as astronomical charts. The Nemoran officials arranged themselves around it, gesturing for their visitors to join them. What followed was a ritualized exchange that Kala navigated with remarkable expertise, presenting small technological devices as ceremonial offerings, accepting symbolic water vessels in return, and engaging in culturally specific conversation forms that gradually transitioned from abstract concepts to concrete negotiations. Kakarot observed with growing appreciation for her specialized skills. While any Saiyan could have conquered this settlement through force, Kala's approach secured their cooperation without violence, more efficient, less detectable, and ultimately more beneficial for their resource acquisition. 2 hours later, they emerged with formal permission to extract minerals from the northern ridge, well away from populated areas, in exchange for technological assistance with water purification systems. The agreement served both their immediate needs and established a potential long-term relationship that might prove valuable as New Vegeta expanded its covert network. Impressive diplomacy, Fasha acknowledged as they departed the settlement. Your specialized training proves its worth. Conquest isn't always the most efficient approach, Kala replied simply. These people now see us as valuable trading partners rather than threats. They'll actively conceal our presence from others rather than report it. As they made the way back toward their extraction site, Kakarot's communication implant activated with Tycho's voice, tension evident even through the subvocal channel. Command, unidentified vessel has entered orbit. Configuration suggests Frieza Force Scout class but energy signature doesn't match standard patterns. Maintain camouflage, Kakarot ordered immediately. Power down all non-essential systems. Accelerate extraction and prepare for emergency departure. When they reached the extraction site, they found the operation already well established. Tycho had deployed automated mining drones carved precise tunnels into the mineral-rich hillside, while Brock and Lacan established the security perimeter with characteristic Saiyan efficiency. Orbital situation, Kakarot demanded as soon as they arrived. Tycho gestured toward a portable scanner display. Single vessel, holding position in high orbit. They've deployed scanning patterns consistent with resource survey operations, but IR energy signature includes unusual fluctuations. Possibly modified equipment or non-standard crew. Frieza's hunter teams use modified vessels, Fasha noted grimly. Could be Broly's squadron testing new tracking technology. The possibility sent a chill through the team. Since confirming Broly's allegiance to Frieza, the surviving Saiyans had implemented increasingly sophisticated countermeasures against detection. But the rogue warrior's intimate knowledge of their methods made him an existential threat. How soon until extraction is complete? Kakarot asked. Primary minerals secured already, Tycho reported. Secondary elements require approximately 4 more hours. Kakarot calculated quickly. Accelerate to maximum capacity. We need to be space-borne within 2 hours. Kala, return to the settlement and ensure our departure won't be reported. The rest of you, prepare for possible combat conditions while maintaining stealth profile. As the team dispersed to their assignments, Kakarot studied the orbital scanner with growing concern. The unidentified vessel's behavior didn't exactly match known Frieza Force patterns, but something about its methodical sector by sector approach suggested specific target identification rather than general survey. They're hunting, Fasha observed, joining him at the display. Question is, hunting what? Or whom? Kakarot amended. If they detected our approach vector. Quote, he didn't need to complete the thought. If Frieza's forces had somehow tracked their arrival, New Vegeta's security was compromised at the most fundamental level. The next 90 minutes passed in tense efficiency as the extraction operation accelerated to dangerous speeds. The automated drones worked at maximum capacity, their energy signatures careful. Why dampened by specialized field generators? Kala returned from the settlement with confirmation that the Nemorans would report nothing to off-world visitors. Ship status. Kakarot demanded as they began loading the extracted minerals. Pre-launch preparation complete, reported Lacan, the team's pilot. We can break atmosphere within 5 minutes of final loading. Just as it seemed they might complete their mission without incident. Tycho's urgent voice cut through the communication channel. Orbital vessel changing position. Descent trajectory initiated. They're landing. Location. Kakarot demanded. Projected touchdown approximately 12 kilometers south. Their trajectory suggests deliberate avoidance of the settlement. The implication was clear. Whoever controlled the vessel was interested in something else on the planet. Something potentially in their vicinity. Accelerate final loading, Kakarot ordered. Prepare for immediate departure. He turned to Fasha. Take Brock and establish observation position. I need visual confirmation of that vessel's occupants before we commit to engagement or withdrawal. As the team scrambled to complete their preparations, Kakarot's attention was drawn to the western sky, where one of the planet's 3 moons had begun to rise. According to their astronomical data, this particular moon didn't produce the specific Blutz wave radiation that triggered Uzaru transformation, but the sight nevertheless sent a prickle of instinctive wariness down his spine. You feel it too, observed Kala, who had appeared silently at his side. The resonant energy. Kakarot turned to her with surprise. You sense the moon's energy pattern. Her golden facial markings seemed to shimmer slightly as she nodded. My mother's people were sensitive to celestial energies. Combined with Saiyan transformation potential, it creates awareness. Before he could question this fascinating revelation, Fasha's voice cut through their communications. Visual confirmation obtained. 4 individuals disembarking from scout vessel. 3 appeared to be standard Frieza Force soldiers. The 4th, her hesitation sent alarm through Kakarot. The 4th, Saiyan characteristics. Female, not Brawly, but definitely Saiyan physiognomy. The revelation stunned everyone listening. Another Saiyan working with Frieza's forces. The implications were staggering. Can you identify? Kakarot demanded, already moving toward Fasha's observation position. Negative. Distance too great for facial recognition. But her armor bears royal insignia. Royal insignia. The words triggered immediate speculation. Could there be survivors from the royal bloodline beyond those who had escaped to New Vegeta? Prince Vegeta's direct family had been accounted for. But distant branches of the royal lineage had been scattered across various conquest missions when planet Vegeta was destroyed. Change of plans, Kakarot decided. Complete loading but hold departure. I'll investigate personally while the rest of you prepare for immediate extraction. If this is another Saiyan survivor, we need to know their situation. Too risky, Fasha objected immediately. If they're willingly working with Frieza, they could expose New Vegeta's location. And if they're coerced or unaware of other survivors, we'd be abandoning one of our own, Kakarot countered. I'll approach cautiously, assess the situation, and withdraw at first sign of hostility. After a moment's consideration, Fasha nodded reluctantly. Take Kala. Her infiltration training complements your combat capabilities. The decision made, Kakarot and Kala moved swiftly through the dense forest toward the unidentified vessel's landing site. As they traveled, the western moon rose higher, joined gradually by a second, smaller satellite. The astronomical data indicated minimal transformation risk, Kakarot noted, eyeing the moons with growing concern. Data can be incomplete, Kala replied, her expression suggesting calculations beyond simple astronomy. The smaller moon entering conjunction changes the radiation dynamics. We should expedite this reconnaissance. They reached a concealed position overlooking the landed vessel within 20 minutes. From their vantage point, they could clearly observe the 4-person team methodically setting up what appeared to be specialized scanning equipment around their ship. Definitely Frieza Force standard issue, Kala whispered, indicating the 3 soldiers. Elite technical division based on their armor configuration. And their companion, Kakarot focused on the 4th figure. The female Saiyan moved with unmistakable warrior grace, her posture radiating the confidence typical of their race. Her armor indeed bore Roya L insignia, specifically the crest of a secondary branch of the royal family. Most strikingly, her tail remained wrapped around her waist, confirming her Saiyan identity beyond question. That insignia belongs to House Yasei, Kala observed, surprising Kakarot with her knowledge of royal lineages. A cadet branch of the royal family, specialized in technological warfare rather than frontline conquest. How do you know these details? Kakarot asked, suddenly suspicious of her extensive knowledge. Kala's expression remained carefully neutral. Part of my infiltration training included comprehensive study of Saiyan political structures. Understanding internal hierarchies improves mission effectiveness. Before Kakarot could press further, movement below caught his attention. The Saiyan woman had separated from her companions and appeared to be conducting independent scanning operations, systematically surveying the surrounding forest with a device unlike standard Frieza Force equipment. She's searching for something specific, Kala whispered. Those aren't standard biosignature scanners, they're attuned to energy resonance patterns. Transformation energy, Kakarot realized with growing alarm. They're hunting for evidence of Saiyan presence through residual transformation signatures. The sophistication of this approach was concerning. Standard detection methods focus on technology or biological markers. This suggested Frieza's forces had developed far more advanced Saiyan hunting capabilities than previously known. We need to withdraw, Kala urged, her golden facial markings becoming more pronounced with tension. If those scanners detect our Saiyan energy patterns. Too late. The female Saiyan below suddenly froze, her scanner pointing directly toward their position. With practiced efficiency, she activated her wrist communicator and spoke urgently to her companions. We've been detected, Kakarot concluded grimly. No choice now, he activated his own communicator. Fasha, we've been compromised. Prepare the ship for emergency extraction. We'll attempt to neutralize the threat and rejoin you within 30 minutes. Understood, came the terse reply. Transmitting alternatives if you're delayed. As Fasha provided extraction coordinates, Kakarot assessed their tactical situation. Direct confrontation risked exposure to Frieza's broader networks. But allowing this team to report Saiyan presence on Nomura would trigger wider investigation. We need to disable their communication capabilities first, he decided. Then capture rather than eliminate, especially the Saiyan. We need to determine what she knows and how she came to serve Frieza. Kala nodded, her expression shifting to focused determination. I'll circle around to approach their vessel. When their communications are disabled, create a diversion to draw them away from the ship. Before Kakarot could respond, she had already melted into the forest with remarkable stealth. Despite his considerable combat experience, he found himself impressed by her infiltration capabilities, another reminder of how specialized talents beyond traditional Saiyan warfare had proven valuable since their exile. Waiting for Kala's signal, Kakarot studied the Frieza Force team's movements carefully. The three soldiers had formed a defensive perimeter while the Saiyan woman continued her scanning operations with increasing urgency. Something about her methodology suggested not just professional duty but personal investment, as if her search held significance beyond simple mission parameters. The second moon had fully risen now, creating an unusual double illumination that cast the forest in contrasting shadows. Kakarot felt an unfamiliar sensation rippling through his body, not quite pain, but a resonant energy that seemed to awaken something primal within his Saiyan physiology. Communications disabled, Kala's voice came through his implant, startling him from his growing discomfort. Ship's transmitter physically severed. They won't be sending any signals off-planet. Good work, Kakarot acknowledged, forcing himself to focus through the strange sensations. Creating diversion now. With practiced precision, he generated a moderate energy blast and directed it toward an uninhabited area approximately 50 meters from the enemy team. The explosion sent wildlife scattering and immediately drew the attention of the three Frieza Force soldiers, who moved to investigate with weapons ready. As anticipated, the Saiyan woman barked orders for two soldiers to investigate while she and the third maintained position near their vessel. Kakarot circled through the forest to approach from the opposite direction, planning to incapacitate the remaining soldi. Before confronting the Saiyan directly. What he hadn't anticipated was the increasing difficulty in controlling his energy. The strange resonance from the dual moons seemed to be affecting his concentration, making precise power regulation challenging. When he launched himself at the remaining soldier, his attack carried far more force than intended, sending the unfortunate warrior crashing out several trees before collapsing unconscious. The female Saiyan spun toward him immediately, dropping into a combat stance that confirmed her elite training. Up close, her features became clearly visible, sharp, aristocratic bone structure typical of royal lineage, with the distinctive widow's peak common to that bloodline. Vegeta survivor, she growled, her expression revealing shock quickly masked by warrior discipline. Impossible. The reports confirmed total extinction. Clearly exaggerated, Kakarot replied, maintaining combat readiness while attempting diplomatic approach. As your own existence demonstrates. Her eyes narrowed with calculation. You're not from the royal line. Third class based on your features. Interesting that any low-borns survived when so many elites perished. The class-conscious disdain was achingly familiar, the traditional Saiyan hierarchy that had persisted even through near extinction. Before Kakarot could respond, however, a wave of disorienting energy surged through his body, momentarily blurring his vision. The Saiyan woman noticed his distress immediately, her gaze darting toward the dual moons overhead. Understanding dawned in her expression, followed by calculating assessment. First transformation, she observed with cold precision. Unfortunate timing for you. Kakarot struggled to maintain focus as another energy wave coursed through him. Who are you? Why do you serve Frieza after he destroyed our world? I serve no one, she snapped, genuine anger flashing across her features. I use Frieza's resources to pursue my own objectives. As any true Saiyan would. What objectives? Kakarot demanded, fighting against the growing transformation pressure. Her response was interrupted by the return of her two soldiers, who emerged from the forest with weapons trained on Kakarot. She barked orders in the common galactic language, restrain him immediately. Use the specialized containment fields. As the soldiers moved to comply, Kala emerged from concealment behind them, dispatching both with precisely targeted energy blasts to their neural clusters, enough to incapacitate without killing. We need to leave now, she urged Kakarot, noting his deteriorating condition with evident concern. The radiation levels are approaching critical threshold for transformation. The Saiyan woman's eyes widened at Kala's appearance, recognition flashing across her features. You, she exclaimed with unmistakable shock. The hybrid experiment, whatever connection existed between them was left unexplored as Kakarot collapsed to his knees. The transformation process accelerating beyond his ability to resist. His vision pulsed between normal perception and a reddish haze, while his muscle mass began visibly expanding. Run, he managed to growl at Kala, recognizing the danger his imminent transformation posed to anyone nearby. Get back to the ship, can't control first change. Kala hesitated, clearly torn between mission protocol and abandoning a team member. The Saiyan woman showed no such conflict, immediately sprinting toward her vessel despite its disabled communications. Too late to prevent transformation, Kala assessed rapidly. I'll guide you away from the settlement and extraction team. Before Kakarot could protest, another wave of energy, more powerful than anything he'd previously experienced, crashed through his consciousness. His perception fractured into primal awareness as his body began the dramatic transformation into Uzaru form. His last coherent thought before ration, mind submerged beneath instinctual consciousness was simple determination. I will not become the monster they expect. Consciousness returned in fragments, disconnected sensory impressions gradually coalescing into coherent awareness. Kakarot found himself lying on hard ground, his body aching with the particular exhaustion that followed extraordinary exertion. The metallic taste of blood filled his mouth, and the scent of destruction hung heavy in the air. Welcome back, came Fasha's voice from somewhere nearby. Your first transformation was eventful. Kakarot forced his eyes open to find himself in a clearing of devastated forest. Broken trees and scorched earth extended in all directions, evidence of the Uzaru's destructive power. Fasha sat on a fallen log nearby, watching him, with an expression that mixed concern with professional assessment. The team, he managed to ask, his voice raw as though he'd been roaring for hours, which, he realized, he probably had. Safe aboard ship, she assured him. We monitored from distance while Kala attempted to guide your transformed state away from populated areas. Memory fragments surfaced, disconnected images of enormous hands crushing trees, primal rage directed at anything that moved, and a small figure persistently appearing at the edge of his transformed vision, somehow avoiding his destructive impulses while directing his movement. Kala stayed with me through the transformation. He asked incredulously. Few warriors would risk proximity to an uncontrolled Uzaru, especially one experiencing first transformation. Her mixed heritage apparently grants unusual resistance to the primal intimidation effect, Fasha explained. She maintained position just beyond your attack range, using energy signatures to doctor you away from the settlement and our extraction team. Kakarot pushed himself to a sitting position, noting that someone had provided replacement armor to cover his transformation-shredded clothing. The Frieza Force team, the female Saiyan. Fasha's expression darkened. The soldiers are dead, caught in your transformation radius despite Kala's efforts to direct you elsewhere. The Saiyan woman escaped in their vessel, though without communication capability. She'll need to reach another system before reporting to Frieza's network. The news brought mixed emotions. While the escaped Saiyan represented a security risk, her survival meant potential information about other survivors beyond New Vegeta's community. Did we identify her? He asked. Kala recognized her as Kale, from House Yusei's scientific division, reportedly killed during an off-world mission before planet Vegeta's destruction. Fasha's eyes narrowed slightly. Kala's knowledge of royal lineages is surprisingly detailed for an infiltration specialist. Quote, so Fasha had noticed too. The accumulating mysteries surrounding their newest team member warranted investigation, but later, after the mission's completion. The extraction, Kakarot asked, prioritizing their primary objective, completed during your transformation. The ship is prepped for immediate departure once you're aboard. Fasha stood, offering a hand to help him rise. Prince Vegeta will be particularly interested in your encounter with this Kale. Royal bloodlines were thought completely accounted for in our survivor registry. As they made their way back toward the extraction site, Kakarot pieced together more fragments of his transformation experience. Unlike the total blackout many warriors reported, he retained impressions of Kansi. Ao's thought persisting beneath the primal rage, not control, precisely, but awareness. Did I? He hesitated, dreading the answer but needing to know. Did I reach the Nemoran settlement during transformation? No, Fasha assured him. Your path remained within uninhabited regions. The settlement is unaware of what transpired. Relief washed through him, followed by determination. His first transformation had been uncontrolled but not completely directionless. With proper training, perhaps he could achieve what elite warriors like Prince Vegeta had mastered, conscious control during Uzaru's state. When they reached the ship, Kakarot found the team efficiently preparing for departure. Kala stood slightly apart, monitoring perimeter scanners with focused attention that seemed deliberately directed away from his approach. Thank you, he said simply as he reached her position. Fasha told me you guided my transformed state away from populated areas. Kala's golden facial markings appeared more pronounced than usual, perhaps from energy expenditure during the crisis. Tactical necessity. An attack on the settlement would have triggered planetary defense systems and drawn unwanted attention. Nevertheless, you risked yourself to protect the mission and innocent lives. That reflects well on your judgment. She met his gaze directly for the first time since his return. Our transformed state displayed unusual characteristics. Most first transformations exhibit total consciousness submersion. You maintained directional response to external stimuli despite lack of training. Before Kakarot could respond to this intriguing observation, Tycho approached with urgent news. Orbital scans detect 3 vessels entering the system. Configuration matches Frieza Force pursuit craft. Estimated arrival at Nemora in 17 minutes. Departure immediately, Kakarot ordered, pushing aside physical discomfort and unanswered questions. Execute randomized jump sequence as soon as we clear atmosphere. Within minutes, the Harbinger broke atmosphere, accelerating rapidly toward the jump point that would begin their evasive return journey. As the stars blurred around them, Kakarot found himself reflecting on the mission's unexpected developments. The royal-blooded Saiyan working with Frieza's forces, Kala's mysterious knowledge and abilities, and his own transformation experience. Each represented pieces of a complex puzzle, the scattered remnants of Saiyan civilization finding their place in a hostile universe. Some pieces fit naturally together, while others say, meant to belong to entirely different patterns. As new Vegeta's leadership had learned through bitter experience, survival sometimes depended not on strength alone, but on recognizing which pieces made the true picture amid deliberate misdirection. The debriefing chamber beneath new Vegeta's central command complex hummed with suppressed tension. Prince Vegeta sat at the head of the obsidian table, his compact frame radiating controlled power as he absorbed the mission report. Nappa stood at his right hand, while Zorn, the aging strategist who had served the royal family for decades, occupied the left position. Kakarot had presented the facts with military precision: successful resource extraction, encounter with the previously unknown Saiyan survivor Kale, his transformation incident, and their narrow escape before Frieza's pursuit vessels arrived. When he finished, Prince Vegeta remained silent for several moments, fingers steepled before him in uncharacteristic contemplation. Finally, he addressed the most significant revelation: House Yusei was believed completely eradicated. Their scientific division worked closely with the Tuffles before our conquest, maintaining those connections even after we subjugated them. Quote, could this explain how the Tuffles developed Saiyan-specific tracking technology so quickly after joining Frieza? Kakarot suggested. Possibly. Prince Vegeta's eyes narrowed. What troubles me more is her claim to be pursuing independent objectives using Frieza's resources. Few Saiyans could maintain such deception against him for long. Unless she offers unique value, Nappa interjected. House Yusei specialized in biological warfare applications. Their research into Saiyan genetic potential was controversial. The implications hung heavily in the chamber. If Kale possessed knowledge of genetic manipulation that could enhance Frieza's forces, or target Saiyan biology specifically, she represented a threat beyond simple security exposure. Your team member Kala recognized her immediately, Prince Vegeta noted, shifting topics with deliberate abruptness. Explain. Kakarot chose his words carefully. Kala demonstrated extensive knowledge of royal lineages and historical connections. She attributed this to specialized infiltration training, though the depth of her knowledge seemed unusual for her assigned role. Indeed, Prince Vegeta exchanged glances with Zorn, some unspoken communication passing between them. And her performance during your transformation incident? Exceptional, Kakarot replied honestly. She remained defunctional despite proximity to Uzaru form and successfully directed my movement away from populated areas. Her mixed heritage apparently grants resistance to transformation intimidation effects. Prince Vegeta's expression revealed nothing, but Zorn leaned forward with increased interest. Your transformation experience itself. Describe it more precisely. You mentioned retained awareness despite lack of formal training. Kakarot detailed the fragmented consciousness he'd experienced, the primal rage overlaying but not completely submerging rational thought. I couldn't control my actions directly, but I maintained some awareness throughout. Is this unusual for first transformation? Extremely, Nappa confirmed with undisguised interest. Most warriors experience complete conscious suppression until proper training establishes mental dominance over the Uzaru state. Your father demonstrated similar characteristics, Prince Vegeta revealed unexpectedly. Bardock's transformation control developed more rapidly than typical warrior progression. Some bloodlines carry stronger connections between rational mind and primal form. The revelation about his father sent a surge of pride through Kakarot, quickly tempered by practical questions. Can this natural predisposition be developed further? Traditional training methods focus on suppressing the Uzaru's destructive impulses. But if partial consciousness remains active, you're theorizing integration rather than domination, Zorn observed with scholarly interest. Fascinating approach. Unconventional, but potentially more effective for certain genetic lineages. Theoretical discussions can wait, Prince Vegeta declared, cutting off the burgeoning technical exchange. The immediate security concern is this Kale, and whatever agenda she pursues with Frieza's resources. We need more information before determining appropriate countermeasures. The prince fixed Kakarot with an evaluating stare. You'll continue leading specialized operations with your current team. Primary objective remains resource acquisition, but secondary priority now includes intelligence gathering regarding House Yusei's survivor and her activities. Kala's knowledge may prove valuable in this regard. Despite questions, about its origins. The assignment confirmed Kakarot's growing role within New Vegeta's unconventional operations, neither fully integrated into traditional command structure nor entirely separated from it. A position that granted both flexibility and deniability to the leadership. There's another matter. Prince Vegeta continued after Nappa and Zorn had been dismissed, leaving them alone in the debriefing chamber. Your transformation control potential warrants specialized training beyond standard protocols. Kakarot straightened with interest. I'm eager to develop proper control techniques, my prince. Not just control. Enhancement. Something almost predatory flashed across the royal's features. The Uzaru represents our race's primal power. Most warriors learn to suppress its destructive nature while channeling its strength. Your bloodline suggests potential for deeper integration, ACC. Essing transformed power without sacrificing tactical intelligence. Such training isn't part of standard warrior development, Kakarot noted cautiously. No, it's part of royal lineage preparation. Prince Vegeta's gaze intensified, traditionally restricted to the ruling family and select elite bloodlines. The implication was clear. Prince Vegeta was offering access to techniques normally forbidden to third-class warriors. The political significance of this exception wouldn't be lost on the traditional hierarchy. I'm honored by your confidence, my prince, Kakarot replied with genuine appreciation. May I ask who would oversee this specialized training? I will personally evaluate your initial sessions, Prince Vegeta declared, surprising Kakarot with this unprecedented attention. Thereafter, you'll work with Paragus, who specialized in transformation control techniques before focusing on his son's development. The mention of Paragus sent a chill through Kakarot. The embit-chaired father of Broly had become increasingly isolated since reports confirmed his son's alliance with Frieza, channeling his formidable intellect into theoretical research rather than practical applications. Paragus has developed innovative approaches to transformation energy, Prince Vegeta continued, apparently noting Kakarot's hesitation. His methods are unorthodox but effective. Given our own tendency toward unconventional techniques, the partnership seems appropriate. As Kakarot departed the debriefing chamber, the compound nature of his new assignments weighed heavily on his thoughts. Resource acquisition, intelligence gathering, specialized transformation training, each represented both opportunity and potential trap, ways to prove his value or expose his limitations. The political undercurrents were equally complex. Prince Vegeta's personal interest suggested recognition of his potential, yet the assignment to work with the increasingly unstable Paragus carried obvious risks. The prince was testing him, but to what end remained unclear. Outside the command complex, Kakarot found Fasha waiting, her expression suggesting she'd anticipated his extended debriefing. The prince has taken personal interest in your development, she observed as they walked toward the training grounds. Unusual attention for a warrior outside the elite circles. Unusual circumstances create unusual opportunities. Kakarot replied diplomatically. Have you heard anything about Paragus recently? I've been assigned to work with him on transformation techniques. Fasha's expression darkened immediately. Paragus has changed since confirming Broly's alliance with Frieza. His research has turned obsessive, focused on transformation energy manipulation beyond traditional applications. Some say grief has affected his judgment. Yet Prince Vegeta values his expertise enough to assign him as my instructor. The prince values results above all else, Fasha noted pragmatically. Paragus may be unstable, but his understanding of transformation energy remains unparalleled. Just maintain awareness of his potential motivations. As they reached the training grounds, Kakarot observed a small crowd gathered around the elite combat ring. Curious, they approached to find Raditz engaged in formal combat challenge against another warrior, a rare occurrence outside scheduled tournament events. Who challenged whom? Kakarot asked a nearby observer. Your brother challenged Turles, came the reply. Something about questioning family honor after your transformation incident. Kakarot suppressed a groan of frustration. Despite their improved relationship in recent years, Raditz remained hypersensitive to perceived slights against their family standing. An uncontrolled transformation would naturally trigger gossip among traditionally minded warriors, gossip Raditz apparently intended to silence through direct action. The combat itself was proceeding with brutal efficiency. Both warriors displaying the straightforward power-focused techniques typical of traditional Saiyan training. Raditz had improved significantly since joining Prince Vegeta's extended guard. But Turles, a cunning fighter known for psychological warfare as much as physical prowess, maintained slight advantage through deliberately provocative tactics. "Your brother fights for family honor," observed a quiet voice beside Kakarot. "While you pursue paths that challenge tradition at every turn." An interesting contrast. Kakarot turned to find Kala watching the combat with analytical detachment. Since their return from Nomura, she had maintained professional distance, efficiently completing mission documentation while avoiding direct interaction. "Different methods, similar objective," Kakarot replied. "We both seek to strengthen our people's position, but define strength differently." Her golden facial markings caught the afternoon light as she turned toward him. "Your Aproac H incorporates adaptation rather than rigid adherence to traditional forms. More effective against diverse threats." The observation carried layers of meaning beyond simple combat philosophy. Before Kakarot could respond, however, a roar from the crowd announced the combat's conclusion. Raditz standing victorious over the dazed form of Turles, who had apparently underestimated his opponent's determination. As tradition dictated, Raditz offered a hand to his defeated opponent, who accepted with grudging respect. Honor satisfied, the crowd began dispersing, warriors returning to their regular training routines. "Your brother upholds traditional values with admirable dedication," Kala noted as Raditz acknowledged Kakarot's presence with a curt nod before departing. "Yet he accepts your divergent path without the resentment many traditionalists would display." "Blood connections remain important even in exile," Kakarot replied, studying her with renewed curiosity. "Your knowledge of Saiyan customs and lineages suggests personal experience beyond technical training, particularly regarding House Yusei." Kala's expression closed immediately, the openness of moments before replaced by careful neutrality. "My infiltration specialization required comprehensive understanding of Saiyan political structures. Nothing more." Before Kakarot could press further, a messenger approached with formal military precision. "Kakarot, son of Bardock, your presence is required at the Eastern Training Facility immediately. Paragus awaits to begin your specialized instruction." The summons came sooner than expected, suggesting Prince Vegeta had prioritized this aspect of Kakarot's new assignments. As he prepared to depart, Kala's voice stopped him momentarily. "Be cautious with Paragus," she advised, her tone carrying unexpected urgency. "His work with transformation energy has evolved since Broly's defection. Some methodologies extend beyond traditional Saiyan understanding into dangerous territories." "You seem remarkably well informed about classified research," Kakarot observed, curiosity deepening into suspicion. "Information flows where barriers are weakest," she replied, echoing Zorna's earlier observation about Saiyan security practices. "Those who listen carefully hear much." With that cryptic statement, she departed, leaving Kakarot with yet another piece of the increasingly complex puzzle surrounding their newest team member. The Eastern Training Facility occupied a secluded valley several kilometers from the main settlement, a location chosen specifica LLY for transformation training due to natural containment features and distance from population centers. Unlike the communal training grounds used for standard combat development, this facility featured red specialized equipment designed to measure and manipulate energy patterns. Paragus waited at the central platform, his aging but still powerful frame draped in scientific apparatus rather than traditional battle armor. The right side of his face bore extensive scarring from some past injury, while his left eye had been replaced with a mechanical implant that glowed faintly with internal energy. "The son of Bardock," he acknowledged as Kakarot approached. "Your transformation incident on Nomura generated interesting energy readings, consistent with theoretical models I've been developing. No greeting, no preliminaries, just immediate focus on the scientific aspects." Paragus had always been analytical rather than martial in his approach, but his current demeanor suggested complete RPTION in technical considerations to the exclusion of normal social interaction. "Prince Vegeta believes I might benefit from your specialized knowledge," Kakarot replied, maintaining formal respect. Despite the older warrior's social abruptness, Vegeta recognizes patterns others miss, Paragus stated, activating a series of monitoring devices that hummed to life around them. "Your bloodline Re's transformation markers similar to those I identified in my son, controlled instability that enables energy spikes beyond typical parameters. The casual comparison to Brawly, whose power had devastated an entire planet, was unsettling. While Kakarot had always sought to increase his capabilities, the prospect of connection to Brawly's uncontrollable destructive potential raised immediate concerns. My objective is controlled transformation, Kakarot clarified carefully. Maintaining tactical awareness during Uzaru's state. Paragus made a dismissive gesture. Elementary application. Mere control wastes potential. True advancement lies in energy transfusion between forms, maintaining base state while accessing transformed power reserves. This concept extended far beyond traditional transformation training, which focused on consciousness retention rather than energy manipulation across forms. The implications were both fascinating and potentially dangerous, exactly the kind of Boundar. Why pushing research that might either revolutionize Saiyan combat capabilities or produce catastrophic results? Has this approach been tested successfully? Kakarot inquired, maintaining neutral tone despite growing reservations. Something darkened in Paragus's expression. My son achieved partial success before his departure. His unique energy profile facilitated transfer states between forms without lunar catalyst requirement. The careful phrasing couldn't disguise the emotional undercurrent. Paragus's scientific detachment fractured whenever discussing Brawly directly. The loss of his son to Frieza's service clearly represented both personal tragedy and professional setback. I understand Prince Vegeta will oversee initial sessions, Kakarot noted, seeking to establish procedural boundaries. The prince observes. I direct. Paragus gestured toward a circular platform surrounded by specialized equipment. We begin with baseline measurements. Your transformation energy retains unusual coherence patterns even in standard form. These must be mapped before progression. For the next several hours, Kakarot underwent intensive analysis, energy projection tests, cellular response measurements, psychological baseline evaluations. Throughout the process, Paragus maintained detached scientific focus, occasionally muttering observations that seemed directed more to himself than his subject. Fascinating harmonic resonance between base cellular structure and transformation catalyst reception. Similar to Brawly's pattern but with structural variation in the hypothalamic region. Suggests potential for consciousness retention without corresponding power instability. By the time Prince Vegeta arrived to observe, Paragus had compiled extensive data that he presented with cold precision. Subject demonstrates exceptional transformation energy integration potential. Preliminary projections suggest 40% consciousness retention during initial controlled transformation, with potential for 70% after specialized training. Prince Vegeta absorbed this assessment with calculating interest. And power amplification. Standard Uzaru multiplication initially. With advanced techniques, possible to channel transformed energy reserves while maintaining base form, theoretically achieving 30 to 40% of Uzaru power without physical transformation. This possibility captured Kakarot's attention immediately. The ability to access even a fraction of Uzaru power while maintaining humanoid form would represent a revolutionary combat advantage, especially against opponents' unfamiliar with Saiyan transformation capabilities. Timeline for initial controlled transformation. Prince Vegeta demanded. 3 weeks minimum for preliminary mental conditioning, Paragus replied. Furs. Chi-controlled transformation attempt after 6 weeks, assuming consistent progress. The prince nodded sharply. Proceed with basic protocols. Advanced techniques require my direct authorization. His gaze shifted to Kakarot. Report any unusual developments immediately. This research has strategic significance beyond individual advancement. After Prince Vegeta departed, Paragus continued the evaluation with increased intensity. Pushing Kakarot's energy control to its limits through precisely calibrated exercises. Throughout the rigorous session, Kakarot observed the scientist-warrior carefully, noting both his brilliant methodological approach and the occasional instability in his emotional responses when certain topics arose. Your son's power level was exceptional from birth, Kakarot noted during a brief rest period. Testing Paragus's reaction. Were there early indicators of his transformation potential as well? The expected emotional response didn't materialize. Instead, Paragus became clinically focused. Brawly's development followed unique patterns. Transformation energy manifested in base form from infancy, creating power fluctuations that required specialized containment. His control device regulated these fluctuations while allowing measured advancement. The device freezes forces presumably removed, Kakarot suggested. Now emotion flickered across Paragas's scarred features, not grief but something closer to scientific outrage. Removal without proper deconditioning would create catastrophic instability. Exponential power increase without corresponding mental framework. Destruction rather than controlled application. Like the devastated planet we discovered, Kakarot observed quietly. Paragus fell silent, his mechanical eye pulsing with increased energy as some strong emotion worked through him. Finally, he responded with carefully controlled tone. My son's power was meant to serve Saiyan resurgence, not Frieza's conquest. His potential, properly directed, could have challenged even Frieza himself. Could still challenge Frieza, Kakarot suggested carefully, if he could be recovered and his conditioning restored. The proposal hung in the air between them, dangerous. Nearly treasonous in its implications, yet aligned with their ultimate objective of defeating Frieza. For a moment, something like hope flickered across Paragas's raw, aged features before scientific pragmatism reasserted itself. Theoretical possibility, practical implementation nearly impossible given current resource limitations. His tone suggested the subject was closed, though the brief emotional response revealed depths beneath the scientific exterior. As the training session concluded, Paragus provided specific meditation exercises designed to strengthen the mental barriers necessary for consciousness retention during transformation. Practice these daily. We continue 3 days from now, assuming no mission assignments intervene. Exhausted but intellectually stimulated, Kakarot departed the specialized facility with much to consider. Paragus's approach to transformation energy represented a radical departure from traditional techniques, potentially revolutionary if successful, but carrying significant risks given the scientist's questionable emotional stability. The setting sun cast long shadows across New Vegeta's rugged landscape as Kakarot made his way back toward the main settlement. Lost in thought about the day's revelations, he almost missed the subtle energy signature approaching from his left, almost, but not quite. Your concealment technique has improved, he noted without turning, but energy suppression remains incomplete during movement. Kala emerged from the rocky outcropping with a hint of professional appreciation. Most warriors wouldn't detect the residual signature at this distance. Your sensitivity has developed beyond standard parameters. Part of my unconventional training approach, Kakarot replied mildly. Were you waiting specifically for me, or does your infiltration practice regularly include monitoring classified research facilities? The directness of the question didn't appear to surprise her. Both, potentially. Information about Paragas's current research directions has strategic value, particularly given your new involvement. Monitoring me specifically, then, Kakarot concluded, more curious than offended. On whose authority? Information gathering doesn't always require explicit authorization, she countered smoothly. Especially when potential threats to collective security emerge. You consider my training with Paragus a security threat. Kala's expression grew serious. I consider any research derived from Brawly's development potentially problematic. Paragu's methodologies produced unprecedented power but catastrophic instability. His current emotional state compounds these concerns. The assessment matched Kakarot's own observations, raising further questions about Kala's sources and motivations. Before he could pursue this line of inquiry, however, a distant explosion shattered the evening calm, originating from the main settlement. Without hesitation, both warriors launched themselves skyward, accelerating toward the disturbance with combat readiness. As they approached, Kakarot activated his communication implant. Status report. Nature of explosion in Central Sector. Training accident in Gravity Facility, came the immediate response from Command Center. Power regulator failure during elite combat session. Medical teams responding. Situation contained. As they reached the settlement perimeter, they could see emergency response teams surrounding the Royal Training Facility, the specialized structure where Prince Vegeta conducted his most intensive combat development. Smoke poured from ruptured power conduits while medical specialists rushed injured warriors toward recovery chambers. The prince, Kakarot demanded from a passing guard. Unharmed, came the terse reply, was not present when the malfunction occurred. Others weren't so fortunate. Relief at the prince's safety quickly gave way to concern for those injured. As Kakarot moved to offer assistance, Raditz emerged from the damaged facility, his armor scorched but otherwise appearing uninjured. Brother, Kakarot acknowledged with evident relief. You were inside during the malfunction. Raditz nodded grimly. Elite combat session. Power regulators suddenly overloaded during maximum gravity simulation. If the emergency protocols hadn't engaged immediately, he left the deadly consequence unspoken. Accident or deliberate sabotage? Kakarot asked quietly. Under investigation, Raditz replied, his expression darkening. But the timing is suspicious. Prince Vegeta was scheduled to oversee the session personally but was called away moments before the malfunction. The implication sent a chill through Kakarot. If someone had deliberately targeted the prince. Any casualties? 3 warriors seriously injured. 2 specialists killed attempting to manually override the power surge. Raditz's gaze shifted to Kala, noting her presence with sudden suspicion. Your new team member has interesting timing, appearing just after the incident. We were returning from the eastern facility when we heard the explosion, Kakarot explained. Though he noted Raditz's suspicion with interest. Has there been increased security concern recently? Before Raditz could respond, Nappa's massive form appeared through the smoke, bellowing orders with characteristic authority. Spotting the brothers, he approached with purposeful stride. Kakarot, your presence is required immediately. Prince Vegeta has called emergency council session in response to this incident. I'm not council rank, Kakarot pointed out, surprised by the summons. Nappa's expression remained grimly official. Special dispensation. Your unique perspective has been specifically requested. As Kakarot prepared to follow Nappa, Kala caught his arm briefly, the first physical contact she had initiated since joining his team. Proceed carefully, she advised in low tones. Political currents shift rapidly after security incidents. Traditional factions may seek to leverage this event against progressive elements. The warning seemed oddly specific coming from someone whose official role shouldn't include detailed understanding of new Vegeta's internal politics. Before Kakarot could question her further, Nappa's impatient gesture demanded immediate compliance. The emergency council session proved even more tense than anticipated. Gathered in the secure chamber beneath Central Command, new Vegeta's leadership radiated barely controlled fury mixed with strategic calculation. Prince Vegeta paced at the chamber's head, his compact frame crackling with suppressed energy that reflected his emotional state more clearly than his controlled expression. Preliminary investigation confirms deliberate sabotage, he announced without preamble as Kakarot took the seat indicated by Nappa. Power regulation systems were methodically compromised over several days, programmed to fail during maximum usage conditions. Murmurs of outrage rippled through the gathered leaders. Sabotage represented the gravest internal security threat since their evacuation, a direct challenge to their fragile civilization's stability. Do we have identification of the saboteur? Demanded Paragus, who had apparently been summoned directly from his research facility. Not yet, Prince Vegeta replied coldly. But the methodologies suggest technical expertise beyond standard warrior training. The saboteur understood our systems intimately. Implications hung heavily in the chamber air. New Vegeta's population included numerous non-Saiyan specialists whose technical skills had earned them places in the evacuation. While these individuals had proven their value countless times, traditional Saiyan suspicion of outsiders remained deeply ingrained. The timing suggests targeting of elite warriors, Zorn observed thoughtfully. Particularly yourself, my prince, had your schedule not changed unexpectedly. Our demonstration of capability rather than specific targeting, Kakarot suggested, drawing all eyes toward his unexpected contribution. A warning rather than assassination attempt. Prince Vegeta's gaze fixed on him with sharp interest. Elaborate. If assassination was the objective, more direct methods would be more effective, Kakarot explained. This approach, technical, complex, requiring extensive preparation, suggests demonstration of vulnerability. Psychological warfare rather than physical elimination. Several council members nodded thoughtfully at this analysis. Prince Vegeta continued pacing, considering the implications before responding. Regardless of specific intent, this represents internal threat requiring immediate response. His gaze swept the assembled leadership. All non-Saiyan specialists will undergo enhanced loyalty verification. Security protocols throughout the settlement will be elevated to maximum status. And a NY warrior with information regarding potential disloyalty must report immediately or face charges of complicity. The directives would fundamentally alter New Vegeta's carefully balanced society, potentially damaging the integration of non-Saiyan specialists whose contributions had proven essential to their survival. Before Kakarot could voice concerns about this approach, however, Paragus spoke with unexpected intensity. The timing aligns with recent intelligence operations, he noted, his mechanical eye pulsing with increased energy. Particularly contact with these Sadala Saiyans, who claim alternative development paths. Quote, murmurs of agreement rippled through the traditionalist faction of the council. Prince Vegeta's expression revealed nothing as he responded. All possibilities will be investigated thoroughly, including external influences. For now, we focus on immediate security containment while intelligence operations continue gathering information on potential threats, both internal and external. His gaze returned to Kakarot. Your resource acquisition operations will continue as scheduled. Security concerns must not interrupt critical supply chains. However, T.M. composition will be temporarily adjusted pending loyalty verification of non-Saiyan specialists. The implication was clear. Kakarot's team would operate without Zorna's technical expertise or other non-Saiyan support until the investigation concluded. A significant handicap for operations requiring specialized knowledge. As the council session concluded, Kakarot found himself contemplating the broader implications of the sabotage incident. Beyond the immediate security concerns lay deeper questions about New Vegeta's future development. The traditionalist faction would inevitably use this event to advocate for stricter hierarchy and reduced integration of non-Saiyan elements, a regression toward Planet Vegeta's rigid social structure. Outside the council chamber, Nappa intercepted Kakarot before he could depart. The prince requires private audience. Training Chamber 3, immediately. The directive surprised Kakarot, who had expected to be dismissed along with other non-council warriors. Training Chamber 3, the most secure facility within the central complex, suggested matters of unusual sensitivity. When Kakarot arrived, he found Prince Vegeta alone, performing high-int NCT combat forms with characteristic precision. Without pausing his routine, the prince acknowledged Kakarot's arrival with a curt nod. Your assessment during council was tactically sound, he aided between perfectly executed strike sequences. Psychological warfare rather than direct elimination attempt. Few warriors would recognize such distinction. Thank you, my prince, Kakarot replied, uncertain of the conversation's direction. Prince Vegeta completed his sequence before turning his full attention to Kakarot. This sabotage represents something more significant than simple security breach. It indicates factional development within our society, potentially aligned with external influences. The Sadala Saiyans, Kakarot suggested, recalling Paragus's implication. Perhaps, are Frieza's agents, or something entirely different. Prince Vegeta's expression grew calculating. Your position outside traditional command structure provides unique perspective. Warriors speak differently in your presence than mine. Understanding dawned. You want me to gather intelligence from within our own ranks. I want you to observe, assess, and report unusual patterns, the prince clarified carefully. Not as spy against our people, but as censor for developments that traditional hierarchy might miss. Your unorthodox thinking has proven valuable in external operations. Now it may serve internal security equally well. The assignment represented both extraordinary trust and potentially dangerous political exposure. By operating between traditional factions, Kakarot would inevitably draw suspicion from multiple directions. I understand, my prince, he acknowledged. Though my effectiveness may be limited without appearing to choose sides in growing factional divisions. Prince Vegeta's lips curved in a rare, thin smile. That limitation becomes advantage if properly leveraged. Your reputation for questioning tradition while honoring strength creates unique access points across factional boundaries. Before Kakarot could respond, Prince Vegeta shifted topics with characteristic abruptness. Your transformation training with Paragus. Initial assessment. His methodologies are theoretically sound but extend beyond traditional applications, Kakarot replied carefully. The potential benefits are significant, as are the risks, particularly given his emotional connection to research derived from his son's development. Precisely why your involvement was arranged, Prince Vegeta revealed. Paragus requires direction beyond his personal obsessions. Your Attic approach may rechannel his brilliance toward applicable techniques rather than extreme applications. The prince's strategic depth continued to impress Kakarot. What had appeared as simple SPECI Ali's training assignment now revealed itself as multi-layered intervention, simultaneously developing Kakarot's unusual transformation potential while moderating Paragus' increasingly unstable research directions. There's another matter, Prince Vegeta continued, his tone shifting toward formal declaration. The sabotage incident has accelerated certain decisions regarding our leadership structure. Traditional hierarchy must adapt to current circumstances while maintaining core Saiyan values. He fixed Kakarot with evaluating intensity. 3 days from now, you will face formal challenge combat to determine your official rank within our military structure. Your unconventional operations have proven effective but require proper positioning within recognized hierarchy to maximize strategic value. The announcement stunned Kakarot. Formal challenge combat, traditionally used to establish positioning within Saiyan military hierarchy, would place him directly within the rank structure. He'd been operating outside for months. While potentially validating his contributions, it would also subject him to traditional expectations and limitations. May I ask who issues this challenge? Kakarot inquired, already anticipating certain possibilities. Prince Vegeta's expression remained unreadable. I do. The simple declaration electrified the atmosphere. Challenge from the Prince High. MSELF. Unprecedented for a warrior of Kakarot's original classification. Such combat would draw attention from every faction within their society, carrying political significance far beyond simple military ranking. The outcome is predetermined, Prince Vegeta continued pragmatically. You will demonstrate sufficient skill to earn formal elite classification without approaching victory. I will acknowledge your capabilities while maintaining appropriate dominance hierarchy. The performance, not the result, matters in this instance. The calculated nature of the arrangement might have offended traditional warrior pride. But Kakarot recognized the political necessity. Prince Vegeta was offering formal legitimacy that would strengthen Kakarot's position across factional lines while reinforcing traditional hierarchy through demonstration of the prince's superior power. I understand, my prince, Kakarot acknowledged, and am honored by this opportunity to demonstrate my development under your leadership. Prince Vegeta nodded sharply, apparently satisfied with Kakarot's grasp of the arrangement's nuances. 3 days. Central Combat Arena. The challenge will be announced tomorrow. His gaze intensified. Prepare appropriately, Kakarot. While the ultimate outcome is arranged, your performance must justify elevation. Our people respect only strength demonstrated, not strength claimed. As Kakarot departed the training chamber, the full implications of this development cascaded through his tactical assessment. The formal challenge represented Prince Vegeta's most public endorsement yet of Kakarot's unconventional approach, a calculated political move that would simultaneously strengthen the prince's traditional authority while creating space for methodological innovation. For Kakarot personally, it represented the culmination of years of dedication to development beyond traditional limitations. No longer would his contributions exist in the shadow realm of special opera Tyons. They would receive formal recognition within the structure that still formed the backbone of Saiyan society. As news of the impending challenge spread through the settlement over the following days, reactions divided predictably along factional lines. Traditionalists viewed it as appropriate testing of a warrior who had received unusual opportunities, while progressives recognized the political legitimization it represented. Non-Saiyan specialists, still navigating the increased scrutiny following the sabotage incident, maintained careful neutrality while privately calculating how this development might affect their precarious position. On the morning of the challenge, Kakarot completed his preparation rituals in the solitude of the ancient ruins that had become his private sanctuary. The familiar stone formations, with their enigmatic energy pattern carvings, provided centering focus as he moved through meditation sequences derived from multiple traditions, Saiyan combat preparation, Namekian energy alignment, and techniques from the Sadala data crystal he'd integrated into his personal methodology. Your approach to challenge preparation differs from traditional methods, observed a now familiar voice. Kakarot opened his eyes to find Kala standing at the ruins' perimeter, her expression revealing genuine curiosity rather than her usual professional detachment. Since the sabotage incident, she had maintained careful distance, appropriate given the increased scrutiny of non-traditional elements within their society. Different challenges require different preparations, Kakarot replied, completing his sequence before rising to face her. This combat has political dimensions beyond simple power demonstration. Indeed, Kala approached, her golden facial markings catching early morning light. Prince Vegeta creates new possibility space through this challenge. Traditional hierarchy maintained while accommodating evolutionary necessity. The political analysis surprised Kakarot, though he had grown accustomed to Kala's insights extending beyond her official specialization. Your understanding of Saiyan political dynamics continues to exceed expectation for an infiltration specialist. Instead of her usual deflection, Kala's response carried unexpected candor. Some infiltration requires comprehensive understanding of target societies. Political structures, status markers, evolutionary pressure points, target societies, Kakarot repeated with raised eyebrow. Interesting terminology for describing your own people. Half Saiyan, she corrected, as she had previously. My perspective necessarily incorporates multiple cultural frameworks. Before Kakarot could pursue this intriguing opening, his communication implant activated with F.A. Shaw's voice. Challenge preparation begins in 30 minutes. Your presence required at ceremonial preparation chamber. Acknowledged, he responded before addressing Kala again. Will you attend the challenge? Mixed heritage warriors typically maintain distance from ceremonial combat events. Something like amusement flickered across her features. I've been specifically requested to observe by Prince Vegeta himself. Apparently, my unique perspective may prove valuable in assessing factional responses to the outcome. This revelation added another layer to the increasingly complex political calculation surrounding the challenge. Prince Vegeta was positioning observers across factional lines, gathering intelligence even as he orchestrated this public demonstration of traditional hierarchy. Then I'll see you at the arena, Kakarot concluded, gathering his minimal personal effects. Perhaps afterward we can continue this unusually direct conversation about your specialized knowledge and its origins. Kala's expression revealed nothing as she nodded once before departing with characteristic efficient movement. Whatever openness she had momentarily displayed had receded behind professional composure once more. The ceremonial preparation followed traditional Saiyan protocols despite the predetermined nature of the combat's outcome. Kakarot was attended by Raditz, who performed the customary armor fitting with uncharacteristic solemnity. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.